Welcome to Dungeons and Gamers, a monthly Dungeons and Dragons real play podcast about dungeons and also gamers. I'm Bryce, and I'm playing the half-orc ranger, Fergus Bog.
I'm Aaron, and I'm playing the Wood Elf Bard, Cookie Kebler.
I'm Beckers, and I'm playing the human barbarian, Bear.
I'm Matt, and I'm playing the tiefling sorcerer, Morthos.
I'm Darian, and I'm playing the high elf rogue, Belladonna.
And I'm Katie Quixotic, and I'm playing everyone else.
Last time on Dungeons and Gamers,
Morthos and I got a good look at one of the first rooms of the collection. We saw many interesting items, one I found particularly interesting, and the Violet Scepter, but not the necklace for Fergus or the locksmith's bane for the Thieves Guild. We met briefly to reestablish the plan, where I was given the task of finding uniforms. I met with the vessel to ask them for assistance in procuring them, and got them to Fergus and Morthos. We had a final meeting the morning before the Winner's Purse tournament. At the meeting, we discussed Cookie's plot to make the employees all poop themselves. It was Fergus's idea. Morthos and Fergus set off to prepare to pose as guards. Bear and I set off to participate in the tournament. Bear passed through and seized up, and then turned into a person. So, Bear's a person now. That's pretty cool. I guess it's time to fight alongside a girl that was a bear?
So, we will pick back up, taking a step back to the morning meeting. The two combatants head off to the tournament. Cookie, or Cherry, is heading to work for the day, and Morthos and Fergus are left to their own devices on what they plan to do before heading to the tournament. So let's start with Fergus. Are you two sticking together the whole time, or are you going to kind of like break off and meet there?
Oh, so Morthos is the like eyes in the sky, I guess. He's, you know, he doesn't have a like, I'm doing this part. He's literally like,
I get to watch the tournament.
yeah, he's literally like, hey, I think my directions to him are like, watch the tournament and make sure they win.
Okay, so you're probably heading basically with them, or maybe shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, it probably would make sense to not show up together, but I mean, Fergus would have both guard uniforms, I think, and he's gonna go. Hey, Morthos, before you head off, here's the your guard uniform for, you know, when we talk our way in to the vault. God, I don't know when we're gonna do this, but when you see me headed in, I guess follow and put this on.
Are you gonna be in the stands with me?
No, I'm running to, you know, strike.
So how will I know when?
They're gonna win the tournament. They're gonna go in. A bit after that, we're gonna go in.
Okay.
Tell you what. You go stand vaguely near the door, and I'll throw something at you when it's time to put on your uniform.
That works. Could you like send Rascal or something?
You want Rascal to throw something at you?
No, just like if I see Rascal, then I know it's time to go.
Well, I'll give you a sign. So you'll know.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
This well-oiled machine.
And he kind of like nods his head and like pets Rascal.
I'm glad Fergus left the rest of it. Like, he had the plan completely concocted. That's just like, you know what? We'll figure it out. You'll know.
There's like several things that Fergus has no plan for, that he's just riding the seat. Like he did some solid work, and he literally has no idea how he's going to deal with some stuff when it starts. So, yep, that's what Fergus is doing. But he kind of looks at Morthos and goes, "I'm probably going to be the last one to head over there. So I don't know if you want to get some good seats." And he kind of like looks at him and like looks at the door.
All right. I guess I'll be on my way.
Goodbye.
Sounds of me walking away. Step, step, step,
Flip
step.
flop, flip flop. Yeah, so I think Fergus, after everyone's kind of left and it gets close to the start of the tournament, probably like an hour before, it's like a 5-10 minute walk to the
Yeah, you're really close by.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, an hour. I'm gonna give 2 hours, because Fergus looks down at Rascal, and he knows he's got the red scarf that Fergus wrapped around him, and he like looks at the guard uniform with all like the blue tones, and he goes like, frick, and makes his way to like a marketplace to buy a blue scarf to kind of match the uniform aesthetic.
Okay. You've been working in the city long enough that you're familiar with clothiers and more like wholesale types of shops. So it's pretty easy for you to go and find cloth that's like a similar enough shade that no one could really tell a difference.
Yeah, he just grabs, like, he buys some cloth and then just like rips the bit to tie around Rascal like the scarf was before, and then he takes the old scarf that and like stuffs in his bag for now.
Okay.
And I think he like starts making his way towards the Violet Scepter.
Mm-hmm.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Does he see a temple of Timora?
So yes, and again, being in the city for as long as you have, this would have been something that you could easily have scoped out, heard about. In the Seaboard, where you currently are, there is a temple to Timora called the Tower of Luck. The head matron there is referred to as the Honorable Mistress, and this would have been common knowledge being in the city for as long as you have.
What does the temple look like if he's like walking by it? What would he?
It is on the east side of the Street of the Singing Dolphin, between the Ivory Street and the Sighing Maiden's Walk. Instead of being like your atypical temple or your typical temple, which has that sort of distinct space for congregation, very like square shaped sort of look, this one is a little bit more like a tall tower. There's definitely a bit more width to the first couple of floors, but it starts with these really, really fair stone walls, like maybe lime, maybe alabaster, something like that. Very fine material. It's like glittering kind of in the morning light a little bit, and you can tell that it's a very white, pale stone, but with the rising sun, it has a little bit of like the orange hue cast over it, and the tower itself is topped. It's about 5 stories up, really, really tall building. And it's topped with a golden dome that in the morning light is just like ablaze almost with the oranges and the reds of the rising sun. And there's a huge fountain out front with a statue of a tall, feminine looking figure draped in cloths and with a very like happy, placid, like joyful expression on her face and her hand outstretched. There are several like tiers of water where there's obviously like a complex system shooting the water up and all around this figure.
I think like, Fergus would recognize like a Temple of Timora. He's fucked with this shit before.
Yeah.
and definitely with everything that's at stake, he kind of like walks over to it and he kind of like looks at the fountain, and then he like looks at the statue, which is presumably Timora.
It seems to be a common theme everywhere that you have encountered, that these like almost like wishing well type structures seem to exist, and there are coins scattered throughout the bottom. It's very thematic for everything you've witnessed of Timora so far.
Okay. Do they look like a halfling in this like a presentation?
This one looks more humanoid, as does the one in the actual Violet Scepter.
Okay. Fergus kind of like looks over the statue, and then he looks like at the fountain and stuff, and then he pulls out a gold coin from his pocket, and then he like starts to like rub it in his fingers for a bit, and he like looks up at the statue, and he goes, "Luck. Where were you when I needed you? Where were you when my family was killed? When I was destitute? You seem to be there when people like the Collector need you, who benefit from using you to trick people into losing all their money. And when I need you, there's nothing. But I need you today. I can't do this. I don't have a plan. I keep telling them I've got this figured out, but I don't. And I don't want help, but I need it. So if there's any thing that you can do, if luck is ever going to be on my side, please let it be today. And he just like releases the coin into the fountain, and he kind of like bends down and kind of like gives Rascal a little pet, and he gestures like, "We gotta go."
Go ahead and make a percentile die roll for me.
55.
So you kind of finish getting your thoughts out. You look down at Rascal and you tell him that you need to go. And the statue itself, the fountain, is made out of the similar white stone that comprises the first couple of stories of this really massive tower. But the statue itself is pretty well completely gold. It's probably gilded, like covered. It's probably not a solid piece of gold, but it's definitely at least covered in something that is gold colored and shiny. And the sun almost seems to like glint off it, or maybe there was some sort of light source that passed by that kind of made a reflection move across your face, almost not blindingly, but like a light beam gets in your eyes, and you kind of have to like blink it away. And you look back, and it's almost like the eyes of the statue have light in them where there shouldn't be any. Make a perception check for me.
8. Do you want Rascal to make a perception check?
Rascal can as well, yeah. But you start to turn to walk away, and you get this hair on the sensation, like the hair on the back of your neck standing up, like when you can feel somebody's watching you, and something just makes you feel like you need to turn around again. And noticing your behavior, Rascal kind of gets a little like it's like he can almost sense your anxiety and the emotional shift. And he starts pacing a little bit. You've only taken a step or two away. He trots back over to the edge of the fountain, and he looks up at the statue, and his ears perk up. He turns his head to the side, and he jumps up and puts his front paws on the ledge overlooking the water and dips his head down in. And he comes back up and splashes water everywhere and gives a good shake to his head. You get a little bit of water, like droplets kind of splashed back on you. And he turns around and he comes over and he like noses your hand that's at your side, and you can feel something cold in his mouth. Like something like smooth and cold. Like he's got something.
Fergus like reaches out his hand to like it. What do you have?
He like lets go when you touch it,
Mm-hmm.
like a dog who will release the ball that's fetched or whatever. And there's this. It looks like it's a coin that's been in there for way too long. It's got that verdigris sort of color to it of oxidized copper almost. But you can see just the faint outline of a really faded, like feminine face to it. Mm. And as it touches your hand, there's almost this kind of like, I know that you can't cast the spell, detect magic, or identify is what I'm thinking of actually.
Yeah.
But as you kind of hold it and look at it, it's almost like there's this knowledge that when you need it, this will show you the way.
And Fergus just kind of like looks at it, and then he just like sticks it in his pocket. And he kind of like nods his head at the statue, and then goes back to walking towards the casino.
Okay. Where do you head when you get there?
I mean, he's gonna like look around at the like general scene, and then he's gonna look for like the bookie.
Okay. So you take a look, and there's just like the typical really excited crowd milling about. There's several people who look like they're probably combatants. You can see Bear over there in bear form, standing next to, or not standing, like on all fours, next to
Pre-time skip Bear.
Next to Belladonna, and you notice the people taking the bets have set up like an area where they've got a board, and there's the bracket is listed for both the single combatants and the partner combatants. There's odds for everyone. They've currently got the individuals. I'm going to show something to you.
Ooh, a visual component.
So there's this kind of like paper tacked to it, and it's got the this is the duo combatants. There's like another placard above it, bracket, and you can tell that Belladonna and Bear seem to be facing off against Merwind and Serpentwind. And there's like info on each of the combatants like distributed about on this board, and there's not a whole lot of information about Serpentwind, but Merwin is a bit of a notable figure, kind of like a local, very, very minor, has done a few deeds around town, and a few people have kind of heard of them. So they're like not necessarily a local celebrity, but like an up-and-coming adventurer kind of thing. And so currently the odds against Bella and Bear are 3-1.
Okay, so a bet for Belladonna and Bear it'll get
triple.
3 times. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And as you're looking over all this information, there's this raucous noise from the actual area, the arena itself, where the combatants, where the crowd is gathered, where people are filling into the stands. And you look over and you see Bear, like looks like they're racked with pain, and you just watch as this form of the bear melts away, and a human is standing where Bear had been beforehand. Morthos, would you say that you're already in the stands?
Yeah. I actually think where we left off last time, I had like gone to the stands as they entered.
That's
like
what I
was
thought.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then Cookie, you said you wanted to be there to watch. Do you think you would be there before the tournament, or would you sneak in after it had started?
I guess my initial thought was that maybe Cookie was still handing out her poop brownies
Okay.
to
All
some
right.
of the security people that are there.
That makes sense.
The security at the arena.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, just so happens to be there to witness this, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'd say that you're probably, because the security is like posted all around, and you're like on the other side where you're like handing them out and making small talk, and you kind of like almost like from the other side of where you're facing, you hear like people cry out in this sort of commotion, and you turn around as you see Bear like kind of making this like pained movements, like something is happening, and then like the transformation into a human person. Bear, you're standing there, and
Well, they're on all fours in there.
well, I guess you could be in whatever pose you'd want to.
Yeah.
Because the bear is a significantly larger.
I figured I'd be standing up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You look down and you have no more claws, and your fur is missing, and everything feels comfortable but uncomfortable at the same time, like you are wearing an old suit, an old skin, old clothes, something old that feels familiar but you haven't had in a long time. And you know what's going on. You haven't you don't suddenly forget what you're here for. You know who you're with. But just getting your bearings is taking a second, because you have this realization that you are different.
So Bear kind of just like scratches in her hair like she's itchy. And it's like, oh, and stretching it out because that didn't feel very good walking through that thing. And then she's just gonna turn around and like look at Bella like she's just waiting. Like that was normal.
One of the people observing, they've got like pamphlets of or leaflets of information, and they've obviously been trying to they're like an organizer, and they're like checking off, and you like walked through and they started to check, and they watched what happened, and they're kind of like, are you still intending to continue? Was this a plan for the spectacle of it? I love that. If so.
What do you mean? Yeah, let's get going.
Oh, is Bear talking right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
They kind of look at you, Belladonna, like, you're all right. I'll mark you all down as continuing. And they like wave over at the people running the like betting area where you're at, Fergus, and you see them like wave over to maybe someone in charge, maybe just one of the people over there, and they like make a couple of gestures with their hands and then just kind of point over, and the person looks over at them, and they go back over to the board and they scratch out 3-1, and they haven't started taking bets yet. They put 3-2. And everybody's just a little kind of shocked looking, but they're confused, but the crowd reaction was like encouraging to them, and a couple of people that were in the stands like get up and out and actually are heading over to make bets. So it doesn't look like they think, oh, well, you can't compete now or anything like that. Like they're a little startled, but they're kind of going with it because it's almost like they're enjoying the spectacle of it, if that makes sense. So how do you react, Belladonna?
Is that barrier gonna turn me human too?
It's only designed to dispel illusions, curses. It's just to make sure that you're actually who you say you are. This is unexpected, but this didn't look intentional. Usually, it reacts differently to an active spell. You should be. I mean, as long as you are who you, as long as this is you, there shouldn't be any changes.
I mean, I hope it's me.
I guess we'll find out.
I guess here we go. I'll walk right on through.
Nothing happens. So, Morthos, you're
Yeah.
watching Bear walk through this portal and this like almost like horrible, you can tell that something like arcane is happening, or at least something magic, something's being like stripped away, and you see Bear turn into this human. How do you react?
I think I'm pretty dumbfounded, kind of jaw on the floor. I don't think Morthos suspected anything of Bear. So, like, you say, like, people in the crowd there's a little bit of a commotion, right? Because, this bear just turned into a person. People are getting up there to go bet and things like that. I think Morthos is just sitting there kind of stunned and, like, kind of disappointed, like, that he didn't know, right? Like, he's just like, why? But he's also like, I'm not a really good sorcerer. Like, he knows that, right? He knows that he's like not particularly good at what he does.
Maybe someday.
This is just like, that one slipped by me, huh? How about that?
And it's interesting because you know that there are people who can take the form of beasts at will. That is
Right.
common knowledge, especially for someone who uses magic at all. But this is different because Bear doesn't look like a druid type who now is got a staff and just like looks all naturey and stuff. Like, this looks like very much somebody who would fight like you would expect Bear to fight. So it doesn't look like this was like intentional, if that makes sense. And Bear looked really confused for a second there and then kind of just like seemed to go with it, which honestly is pretty bearish, like realistically.
That's so Bear.
It's so Bear. Yeah, so that's fair. That's a good reaction. And then Cookie, how do you react when you look over and you see your friend that you've been traveling with for however long now suddenly turn human?
Well, Cookie, I see her being like really horrified because she heard the screams. She like was hearing some pretty nasty sounding sounds, I'm assuming, of this bear turning into a human. And I almost see her like as if she was handing a brownie to somebody and she like dropped it on the ground, like when she saw it, in just complete shock, and is just like, and going through her mind, I feel as if maybe she thinks something, like almost like she doesn't believe what she's seeing, and like this person like did something to Bear, because she's seeing this bear skin on this person's like body all of a sudden, and she's not like getting a clear view, I'm guessing, because she's kind of like out, with wherever the security people is. I guess I'm not totally sure what her view situation is like.
So they're like, if you look on the map, they're down here entering from the south. Their competitors are entering from the north, and I figure you're like over kind of in this area because there are guards kind of posted all around. So you had your like back sort of turned to them as you're making your rounds, and then you turn around and they're kind of like, you can get a pretty, like, there are people around, and now of course like the guards have kind of like, people are leaning over to look, but you can see well enough to see like the figure of Bear and the like the big fur like wrap thing, trophy or whatever it is.
Right.
But you're not like right next to her.
Okay. And I guess maybe since she's like probably standing in front of somebody, she's like, oh, and then gives them a different brownie in like her pan or whatever she has basket. And she's like, that was pretty crazy. And then trying to just kind of like keep it in and not like burst into tears and be like, I have so many questions.
The person you were handing off the brownie to at first is this really tall, maybe half elven, like woman. She's got a big scar over her right eye, and she has this like bright red hair that's tightly braided back. And she's an imposing figure. She's tall, she's really broad, she looks really strong. You hand her the second one and she kind of laughs and she bends down and picks up the first one and like blows off the bottom and just sets it on top of the other one and is like, 2 for me. Don't worry about that. They're probably just a druid or something.
It's like, oh, yeah, I guess that's just not something you see every day.
It happens
Okay,
sometimes.
goodbye.
All right, like they seem kind of unfazed. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay. So with that, you let's go ahead and place any bets that anyone is planning on let's place any bets anyone is planning on placing first, and then we will start the competition.
Fergus asked the guy, like, can I bet on one of the competitors to win the whole thing?
We take each bracket as it goes. We haven't really calculated the odds for a win all. Let me give me just a second. He turns to one of the other people working there. There's like 2 or 3 of them, and they've got just books and books of information. And the one that erased the original odds is the one who he kind of goes over and taps on their shoulder, and they start talking quietly. And he comes back and he says, maybe before that happened. Now we're just going to keep going bracket by bracket, if that's okay. Well, it's okay, because that's what we're doing.
No, I disallow it.
Yeah.
I'm in charge now. I'm from head office, and I say this is very irregular.
Head office.
Fergus kind of nods, and he reaches into a pocket, not the normal pocket where he usually keeps his gold, but another pocket, and he pulls out a bag of gold and sets it on the table and goes, all of this on the bear, and gestures at the sight that just happened.
They kind of look up and they're like, bear, right?
Yeah.
Not bear. Okay. And they kind of open it up and look inside, and they're like, how much?
Well, we have to decide that, Katie.
Mhm. So, you kind of think back to the day that you all arrived in town.
Yeah.
You'd gotten the room set up. Everyone was taking a second to go and venture forth and look for supplies, and you had something particular in mind. I want you to go ahead and make an investigation check, because at this point you were completely unfamiliar with the city. And so you were either going to have to venture out on your own or ask around for help.
A solid 10.
Okay. So you spent some time walking around. You found the sort of market area well enough. And kind of as an offshoot off of the market area, around back alley, there were just a few establishments that seemed to be off the beaten path. I love Rascal trying to help you find the place.
Rascal got an 11 on his intelligence check. And to be clear, Rascal has a -4 to intelligence.
Oh, poor buddy.
So he rolled higher than Fergus.
With a -4.
Yes.
I love it. So he's trying to help. At this point, you are still fairly new to each other, and he's not familiar with the city. So mostly he's taking in all of these sights and smells and trying to stick with you. Mm-hmm. But as you're looking around, you're able to talk to someone, and they'll point you in a direction of these kind of, like I said, around and off the beaten path a bit, kind of down an alley, these couple of establishments. And one of them, the banner, instead of having a nice woodwork sign over the top, it's almost like this is painted directly onto the stone itself. It's just got a box on one side of a set of scales and a bag on the other. And you walk in and you see that it's almost like the weirdest general store you've ever been in, where there's just a variety of kind of odds and ends all over the place. Everything from super mundane but kind of niche or interesting items to a few items that are in a locked case that appear to probably be magical. Just at a glance, they look like they kind of have that sort of sheen to them. And there's somebody standing behind a long podium almost, rather than a counter, kind of towards the front. Not like they're they're keeping everything out of your reach. You can like walk around and see most things, but it looks like they're just kind of positioned up front because it's like a good bird's eye view of the whole establishment, of all the shelves, of all the counters and everything. This is a person. They have fine features. They have kind of short cropped hair that seems to be like slicked back, really smooth against their head. They're wearing lots of jewelry, silver more than gold, lots of silvers and sapphires, and they're wearing these like deep blue robes with like silver, instead of cloth of gold, it's like cloth of silver kind of trim and embellishments on them. And as you walk in, they just kind of put their hands together and say, "Oh, welcome in. What can I help you with?"
Do you take pawns?
"Yes, we do. What are you looking to have us hold on to you for a while?"
Fergus kind of eyes them over. Can I roll insight on them? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
Get the feel of them. 15.
They seem like kind of cool and aloof. You don't have a
How
whole
cool?
lot to go.
How cool? Do they look like they would wear sunglasses inside?
Not that kind of cool. Cool like detached. There's not a whole lot to go off of yet. They don't look shifty-eyed. Their posture is very like straight, and their shoulders are squarely towards you, and their hands are visible, and their eyes are pretty fixed on you, not in like an intense stare, but just like a casual like acknowledgement. It sounds like they're kind of maybe a smooth talker. Like this is perhaps like a predatory business model. And so, you soften words, you use positive language and spin things like, "Oh, we'll hold on to this for you for a while," but not because they're planning on doing anything with it, just because this is something that a lot of people do when they're like on out of luck, right? Like they're like they need help, and this is kind of like not a great thing to have to do for a lot of people. So it's kind of like a smooth talker, silver tongue sort of person, but not inherently like, "I'm going to trick you."
Yeah. Fergus sets down his bag, and he kind of like digs into it a little bit, and like, it takes a little digging. He hasn't kind of like messed with this in a bit, so it's towards the bottom. But he grabs in and he pulls out an item that is like wrapped in a cloth, and he kind of like pulls it and removes the cloth and unveils a crown. And he kind of like looks at it a little bit, and then he hands it over to the person behind the counter.
"Oh, an interesting piece." And they kind of like reach over and delicately take it, look it over, and they reach into, crown still visible where you can see, they reach into like a pouch on their side, and they pull out this little cylinder that looks like it's got a glass end, and they kind of put it up to their eye and squint down to hold it there, and they take a really close look at it, and you can see them like almost like tweaking ends, not like hard to break it, but like testing to see how soft it is. Is this pure gold kind of thing? Inspect it for a little bit. "And what's the history of this?"
I mean, it seems to be royal. I won it in a bet, so I couldn't tell you. But it's worth something, right?
"Perhaps. Make a deception check."
4.
Oof.
So you're talking, and their facial expression doesn't change much, and they're like, "I don't deal in goods that are not owned by the people coming to me, so unless you want to tell me the real story behind this, or at least something better, we might not be able to do business today. It does look authentic, seems to be, in the sense of the materials made into it, but sometimes a thing is worth more than the sum of its parts, depending upon its history."
Fergus kind of looks at the guy, and he's like, "I don't have a like paperwork for this, but It's mine. I can promise you that. And he kind of like as he says that, he kind of like squares eyes straight with him. Like, this is mine. It's royal. It's from a kingdom far away. And he like is like sighing as he's talking, like unsure how much he has to say and how little he can get away with saying.
When do you plan to retrieve it?
A month and 2 days.
Month and 2 days. Oh, okay. Do you live in the city?
No, I'm here for the tournament.
Flight risk. Won't be able to give you the local interest rate, but I think we can work out something fair. How about 300 gold pieces?
I mean, I think he's gonna like look around. He's gonna see if there's anything like in the shop that would also be beneficial to him.
Okay. Make a perception check.
18.
Okay. You look around and you see a few magic items that look like they probably are pretty valuable. There are some rings. There's one that looks like a set of bracers, and then there's one that looks like almost like a ram's horn that's been fitted with like a silver, not mouthpiece, but like end that's attached to like a strap, like you could wear it around you. And that has like a bit of familiarity, like almost something that you've seen before or heard people talk about before. And it comes to mind as something that like is at least familiar to you. So you have an idea of like its worth or its function.
Fergus kind of like gestures his like head over to that and is like, "What's that?"
They look where you are kind of directing your eyes. Say, "Are you looking at the brooch or the horn?"
Horn. Unless that brooch is real nice. But let's start with the horn.
The horn is a horn of, I believe, alarm. Let me go check. And they kind of take a step back and go around the back of this like glass case where it looks like they're reading off of like a list of things. Like maybe they've got like an inventory or something back there. And horn of silent alarm. And come walking back towards this like long podium.
Does Fergus like knows what it does?
So you know that it can be used a handful of times. When you use an action to blow into it, one creature of your choice can hear horns blare, provided they're within 600 feet of the horn and they are not deafened. And no other creature, including yourself, can hear it.
Fergus kind of like looks at that and then like just thinks of the heist and is like, "How much can I get if you throw in the horn?"
I'd be willing to go as high as 200 gold in the horn.
And so then I'll owe you 300?
Yes. Well, and interest.
What's the interest like?
They pull out like almost like a ledger, like a journal, and they kind of flip through a couple of pages, look at the crown again. If retrieved on time, it will cost you an additional 30 gold. If not retrieved on time, that will be a late fee, and it will cost you an additional 80 gold to retrieve it. And that will compound daily.
Fergus kind of like looks down at Rascal, who like matches his gaze, and then he kind of like looks up at the shopkeeper and goes like, he gives them a nod and goes like, "I'll be back on time."
Paperwork ensues.
Yeah, does all the stuff. Before like as he gets his like gold and horn, Fergus kind of like looks back at the shopkeeper or the pawnbroker one more time, and he goes, "That crown's not going anywhere while we're gone. or till we come back for it, right? And he kind of like puffs out his chest a little bit and kind of like sticks out his like tusks a little bit to kind of like intimidate them.
Okay. You want to make an intimidation check?
Sure. Can
You don't have to, but you can.
Rascal kind of try to
Sure.
do you want that to be a help? So I roll with advantage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I got a 10
Nice.
and then a 20.
Okay.
They were like, not that intimidating. And then Rascal growls and like, oh fuck, no,
Not the dog. This person has a fear of dogs. You didn't realize. So they looked like they have this like really placid, almost like veneer that they're not allowing to show emotion through. And then they looked offended for a moment, and then they looked worried for a moment. Said, "That is completely unnecessary. I have a reputation to maintain, and nothing goes anywhere so long as you pick it up on time. I'll give you a week after the allotted date, at which time it becomes fair game. So, you know the rules."
And then Fergus just kind of nods and walks away. And that brings us to now, where as they open the deal, he goes, 200 gold.
The person nods, and they put it back onto a scale where they have weights that they can balance out to be the right amount, so they don't have to hand count everything. So they kind of dump that out, and they weigh it, and it comes out to the 200, and they nod to you, and they put it back in the sack essentially, and then like lock it away somewhere, and like write out the agreement and hand you essentially like a receipt of your bet. Excuse me.
And then Fergus grabs the little receipt and go get like in position in the front of the casino.
Okay. All right. So, Belladonna, there, you walk out into this arena. The ground seems to be made of sand beyond this barrier here. There are some pillars that seem to serve to provide cover or obstacles, just something to sort of break up the monotony. There's a brazier in the middle that's lit with flame. And the group on the other side you see come through. You'd gotten a glance at them before, but as you're walking out to the middle and there are a few obstacles in the way, you can get a better look at them. One is a pretty imposing figure. They look half-elven and feminine, auburn hair, greenish eyes. Their skin is a bit of a bluish tint to it. And if you take a second to look, they did seem half-elven, but they're so tall that they must be perhaps half Goliath as well. There's a smaller, more lithe figure that seems to be standing a few paces behind this one, fur on the face and a feline appearance to them. They have this sort of sleek black fur, and they have a bow on their back. And you know this to be Merwin and Serpentwind, who you are going to be in contest against, I suppose would be the best way to say it. You'd already been read the rules. They mentioned that nothing is to the death, that any final blows, should somebody not forfeit, must be non-lethal. So you already know the terms of the encounter.
How bad can they be hurt?
As long as they don't die.
Okay.
And mechanically, you'll know that when somebody's unconscious, a melee attack is 2 failed death saving throws. So if you were to attack them twice once they fell unconscious, you would kill them. So that's your... Okay. So you can get 1 swipe in, but not 2. Somebody... Go ahead.
Quick question about the audience. Were we like scanned for anything in any particular way? Like the combatants went through that barrier. It's just kind of free for all as far as like nobody's possessions were noted or anything, or
No, there are several guards, basically one at every corner. There's one on either side of each entrance on the floor. There's one on this corner, all of these corners. There's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 16 guards just on the inside of the tournament. There were more around the outside that you noticed when you came up. And in general, there seems to be a very heavy presence. Now, notably, none are wearing or very few are wearing the city guard attire. It is mostly the sort of attire you've seen the internal force wear. It's almost like everyone who worked every shift has probably been called in to work all day, is kind of what it's looking like. So there's a heavy presence there, but it seems like they're only paying attention to the contestants to make sure that the fight is fair.
Okay. And is there any like barrier over the actual combat arena other than those gates that they went through?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, the entrance for anyone not a non-combatant were these ones on the sides, and there's like a tiny little like threshold here, basically just to keep the sand back. But the barrier would be the wall of like guard bodies, essentially there.
Every time somebody says a word with bear in it, it makes me smile.
Barrier. Any other questions before we begin?
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color?
Yeah.
Actually, so that's a bit of like a story. Like, I have always said orange was my favorite color for like forever, but
That's
lately
what
I've
you said
noticed
in the
that I just,
D&D
like,
tag. Was orange
Yeah,
is your favorite color?
and I've been debating that because I don't own anything that's orange anymore. Like everything is like blue and teal and seafoam, and I'm like, maybe orange isn't my favorite color anymore. I don't know. I don't buy anything that's orange. I keep buying teal shit like this, and I'm just like, I don't know. So I would lose the Monty Python thing, like orange, no blue.
Mine's Mountain Dew green.
Mountain Dew
Nice.
green.
Nice.
Mine's mellow yellow green.
I love it. So somebody who seems to be kind of like an announcer walks out. They're wearing like violet robes that seem to match the attire worn by anyone who's been working in the Violet Scepter. They have a piece of parchment in their hand, and they pull a wand out and they hold it up to their throat. And it's almost like they must be casting thaumaturgy because their voice gets louder as if they were speaking through like a modern day megaphone or something like that. And they're welcoming everyone in. They're reminding everyone to place their bets. They're hyping the crowd up, talking about the, incredible feats that everyone's about to see. These seasoned fighters will be facing off in combat, and you'll be sure to see quite the spectacle today. But they keep mentioning the betting. They probably talk about that like 4 or 5 times before they're finished with their little speech. And then they turn around and they kind of glance over to the two of you and glance over to the other two and point to the like pillars that are on the either side. Like this is the one by the two of you, and that's the one by the two of them. They instruct you each to stand one on either side, and that it will begin when they're going to like cast a spell. It's essentially going to be like flare gun style, but they're going to like cast a shower of sparks. So there's like this kind of quiet that follows over everything, as there's this like tension in the air before the two of you face off against the two of them. And then there's this shower of blue and violet sparks, and you know that it is time to begin. So would you go ahead and make what's the word?
Initiative.
Initiative roll. Thank you. That's the one. I was like, I know how this works.
Oh, I crit failed. No, so I guess 4.
I rolled a 10.
Oh, that's not great. Oh no.
So, sizing up the two of you, Merwin comes charging across the field towards Bear. You can see like this, like the veins begin to pop out of her neck, and she releases this war cry. And it seems like maybe she began to rage, or maybe she just really enjoys fighting. Who knows? She's going to make 2 attacks against you. Maybe. We'll see. What's your AC?
15.
1 connects, 1 does not. You have not had a turn yet, so you are not yet raging. So you take 2 piercing damage. Big hits on that one. The second one, she goes to, so she lashes out at you the first time, and it was so quick that you weren't quite expecting it, and it did like catch your arm, and there's like a cut that she's able to make with these hand axes, but it's pretty like superficial. Like it hurts, but it didn't like cut down to the bone or anything. And after you gain an idea of her sense of speed when she lashes out with the second one, you're able to move out of the way in time. And that is her turn. Now it is your turn.
All right, I'm gonna rage.
Okay. As your bonus action, then what for your action?
Then I'm gonna smack her with my greatsword.
Do it.
My attack roll was 21, so
Okay.
that's gonna hit. And then, it says I did 10 slashing damage with the bonus 2 for rage.
Okay. All right.
Oof. Nice.
Yeah, so you make a solid hit. Absolutely solid. She like winces against the weight of your greatsword. Okay, is that it for you?
I could move, but I'm good here.
Yeah, okay.
Bear took no time to warm up. Just
For real.
immediately.
Just, like, right into it. Okay, so Serpent Wind is going to move around and kind of like, they look like they're taking cover behind this this pole here. As they're moving, they take a shot at you, Bella.
No.
Does an 18 hit?
Yep.
And in true Katie fashion, I also rolled the lowest possible damage on that attack, so you take 3 piercing damage. And I'm going to try to... Now, you know where this character is roughly, but they're going to try to make sure that you don't see where they go after this. We'll see how that works out. What's your passive perception?
13.
Okay. So you see them kind of like, they shoot you, they duck behind here, and you see them faint out, and then it looks like they tried to use the shadows that from the like the rising sun and that are cast from the bleachers over here to kind of like fake out the direction they were moving, and they kick up some sand, and then they come back to where they originally were, but you managed to see them doing that. They're not as clever as you are, apparently. And now it is
Perfect.
your turn.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot back at him with my bow.
Okay.
Well, I critted.
I love it.
Wow, this is awesome so far.
Those are for real.
Crit success.
Yeah.
Cool. How does critting work in 5e? It's been a while since I did.
That's okay. So what happens is you damage all the dice that you roll. Or you double all the dice that you roll.
Okay, so I did 10 piercing damage.
So you rolled a 2 and you get 3 for your dex. You double the 2 to 4 and then add 3. So you did a total of 7 damage instead.
Where did the 2 come from?
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
So if you hover over that roll of 5 piercing, you'll see that it says 1d6 plus 3, and that equals 2 plus 3. So 2 is the roll
okay.
that you made there. So that was the actual roll, because you don't get to double your modifier.
Right.
So
Okay.
double the damage. So that's 7. That was equally decent hit on that one. They have both taken some significant hits. There's a half of your arrow shaft. Like this went in deep. Half of your arrow shaft just sticking out of this Tabaxi's shoulder. And they thought that they even were going to be totally fine because they're like half hidden behind this pole, but half cover meant nothing to this shot. And it's just like, if you could see the other side, because you're looking at their back, if you could see the other side, you're pretty sure that there's probably a tip of an arrow sticking out the front of their shoulder on the
Whoops.
other side. Anything else you'd like to do with your turn?
I might move so that I would orient behind maybe the further up pole so that I'm not next to the 2 barbarians that are duking it out, but maybe have a little bit of cover.
Okay. Moving back to Merowint. She takes this hit from you, and there's the initial like wince of pain, Bear. But then she almost looks like excited, but like, like battle frenzy excited, like, ooh, this is going to be a good fight. So she lashes back out at you again with renewed enthusiasm and misses twice.
Don't step to me, ho.
For real. And she starts to look a little like surprised and like almost frustrated, but mostly just like impressed. And it is your turn again.
Now that Bear can talk, I can't tell if these are things Bear is saying or if it's things Beckers is saying.
Can we just assume they're definitely things that she's saying out loud, but like thinks is inner monologue because she was a bear and couldn't speak this whole time?
Oh my god.
These things are just slipping out, and like she's completely unfazed, and everybody's just like, "What the hell?"
Trash talking.
I love
Bear.
that.
Oh my
That is
gosh.
pretty great.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Bear just gonna pick up her greatsword and smack her again.
All right.
Oh. Okay, this time I rolled a 23 for the attack, a 13 for slashing damage, +2 for raging.
Oh my god. Okay, so that's
Tournament. What tournament?
For real. It's a total of 15 halved and rounded up would
Come on,
okay.
you guys gotta like make it look good so I can bet so I can win the bets.
So after your first attack, and she kind of like comes back at you with renewed energy and then misses both as you're able to like one of them actually like connects with you, but you like almost like shrug off this axe. Like you're able to just not allow the sharp end to actually like you force it to glance off of your natural armor, basically. The second one completely misses. You swing back at her and make another solid connect, this time because she's just swung with one of her axes. Her shoulder's exposed and you like cut into the meat of her shoulder right here, and her whole arm kind of like goes down almost like she's taken a very severe wound in this moment. Now, remember, there are healers in this world, so this is the sort of thing that can be easily repaired, but it still hurts. Anything else you'd like to do?
I'm gonna flex on her.
I love it. Make an intimidation check.
we'll flex on those hoes.
Just Bear just roaring like, ah.
Mhm.
I rolled 14.
Instead of looking like super excited, she begins to look a little shaken. Like not like suddenly cowering, but definitely way less confident than she looked prior to this. Serpent Wind is going to peek out, kind of see what's going on, see his friend in dire straits, and is going to begin shooting at you as well, Bear.
Come at me.
With a 6. They're just like completely missing. The arrow goes flying wide. Now, interestingly, I think you probably wouldn't notice this, Bear, but Bella, you might, and Morthos, you definitely would. This arrow goes flying back and it misses Bear completely. And when it reaches the end of this sort of barrier where the sand is, there's like just like almost like a ripple of light, and the arrow bounces off what seems to be some sort of like containment. You've seen people passing through just fine, but the projectiles do not in fact fly into the crowd as they would otherwise, because the seating is not too far up off the ground. They're not like down in a pit or anything like that. Okay. They're gonna attempt to hide again. We'll see if they manage to do anything today. Okay, so this time, this character kind of like, everyone can see them kind of duck back behind here, but then there's no, like before, Bella, when you saw them kind of like move around and go back, it's almost like there's like this kicking of sand and it goes up in the air, and now you actually aren't quite sure where they are. The last place you saw them was here, but you're not entirely confident that that's where they ended up because the sand in the air made it difficult to see what was going on. And it is now your turn.
I'm gonna take an action to switch to my daggers, 2 of them, and I'm gonna flank the barbarian.
Okay. You can, switching one weapon is a free action. So you could, if you were to like drop the bow, you could pull a dagger out for free, but then the other one you probably need to use like your bonus action to pull out. So you could still get one attack in. But if you don't want to drop it, then yeah, you can just reposition yourself and then you'll have your attacks on next turn. Unless you have like a feat or something.
I don't think so.
But you also, I think as a rogue, you would get advantage and sneak attack if you just shot the person that was engaged with Bear, because it works for range too. But if you want to use your daggers, you totally can.
Well, no, if I can do that, then I'll just do that.
Yeah, as long
shoot
as
at
somebody's within 5 feet of, as long as one of your allies is within 5 feet of your enemy, you don't have to be in melee for that.
Okay. Then I'm just gonna shoot my bow at her.
Okay, sounds good.
I rolled an 11.
Okay, so you don't see a whole lot of armor on this figure. They kind of seem more like barbarian style, like they've got leathers on, but they're obviously not like boiled leather armor or anything. You see the arrow like make contact with some of the clothing that she's wearing, but doesn't seem like it has like phased her in any way. So either she just, took it like a champ, or it maybe didn't like penetrate quite far enough to actually damage her. Anything else you'd like to do in your turn?
Nah, I'm gonna chill right here.
Okay. All right. Merwin is looking rough. Rough for the wear. Worse for the wear? That's what I was meaning to say there. She lashes out at you again, Bear. She connects one time.
That was like 3 rhymes in a row.
I do what I can.
The rest of the DMing will now be performed in rap.
For real. You take 8 points of damage, but you're raging, so it's halved. So you take a total of 4 points of slashing damage.
I'm at 29.
Nice. She looks like she is again like more enthusiastic. Like she was able to get a hit back in on you. And now it is your turn again.
Okay. Yep, I'm just gonna hit her again.
Sounds like a plan.
This time I rolled a 13. With 7 damage plus 2 for raging if it hits.
13 does hit.
Nice.
So she's looking really rough, and you're pretty confident that one more good blow will be enough to put her down, and you know that you're not supposed to kill her. So would you like to make this I think it's called subdual damage? Basically, you're like, you're hitting her with like the flat of the blade, or you're just making sure not to cut anything vital so that she doesn't in fact bleed out and die, but she'll go down. You don't have to, but those are the rules.
I'm not gonna kill her.
Okay.
I'm just
When did Bear agree to the rules?
Before she was human again.
Before she
My paw
understood.
print is on something.
Yeah, it's true.
Cookie explained the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, so you make a big strike.
All right.
You do so in such a way that she won't actually die, and she
Okay,
goes down.
I'm gonna hit her over the head with my sword on the flat part.
I love it.
Bonk.
That's perfect. Yeah, and she crumples like
Bonk.
she's taller than you, but you like she just crumples into a heap before you, and there's just like the crowd's been yelling, and some people are heckling, and some people heckling, and some people are cheering, and there's such a cacophonous noise. It's kind of hard to tell like whose side they're on, if there even are sides. But when she falls to the ground, it's like erupts with cheering, and then there's a couple of boos, and then but you've gotten quite a reaction from the crowd.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to do? You do have movement.
I'm gonna gloat.
Okay.
I'm not gonna move yet.
Ah,
I'm just gonna do this.
I love it.
Bear swings and then like flexes every time.
The rogue ish figure, the tabaxi, takes a shot at Bella. You don't notice where they are until you hear the twang of the bowstring. They weren't where you thought they were, but they miss anyway. They're kind of like in the very edge of the stadium, like on the barrier edge here, over in kind of like the shade. It's kind of unsettling how they were able to kind of stand out in broad daylight and like not be seen. So there's something to them, but they're a terrible shot. So another arrow goes flying by you and hits the wall and falls to the ground. They run back over here. And now it is your turn.
Well, I'm gonna shoot right back at them since they revealed themselves to me.
Mm-hmm.
I rolled a 15.
That'll hit.
6 damage.
Okay. This one connects solidly. You're able to kind of like puncture a part of their side, equally like painful, perhaps not quite as vital of a strike, but still very painful. And they look like they are having a very, very bad day. Anything else you'd like to do with your turn?
Nope.
Okay. I didn't anticipate rolling quite so terribly. So Bear, it's your turn again.
Okay. All right. Bear's gonna run up to the other guy
Okay.
and swing at him.
Okay. Make an attack roll.
I'm having a great time. I rolled a 19. And my damage will come out to 11 if it lands.
It does. And so you are again in the position where you once you like kind of like round around this like column here, you're looking at this tabaxi. There's like a little bit of blood coming out of their mouth where you can see one of the arrows has definitely like hit something inside. It was a really, really vital shot. They're like kind of like favoring the arm that has to hold their bow a little bit, and like the eyes grow wide as you come around the corner, and you know that unless you make the intentional decision to not kill them, that this could be a fatal blow. So
Okay. Dang, I should have done an unarmed strike so I could Sparta kick him. I'm gonna bonk him too.
okay. So again, the flat of the blade comes down against his head. There's still a very satisfying sort of like metallic twang. You're not trying to completely break his skull, so there's not like the resounding crack that you might expect to hear in some situations. But he similarly crumples to the ground in just a heap. The minute that he hits the ground, some people in robes rush out to attend to the two of them. Healing magic starts to be administered. They start to stir again, like someone who's like waking up from being brained in the head. And the crowd is cheering. Even the people who booed the first time are cheering now because the enthusiasm seems to be to the level of a crowd that was not expecting this much of a shutout. Like nobody on your side even went down. Didn't even look like you really got all that hurt. And so the reaction here is like pretty strong. It's kind of hard to say if this is how it typically is here because you've never fought here before, but it's a wild crowd at this point. And there's just people kind of like jumping up and down and screaming at each other. And a couple people are waving tickets. They look like they probably bet on you in hopes that they would be able to get a nice payout. And perhaps that is the case here. And you see that one of the person who had been doing the announcing perhaps a collection. Now, the strike is supposed to start as that starts, correct?
Can I say something super quick?
Absolutely.
So I guess since that round was pretty short, I can kind of see Cookie still being there passing out her goodies since there's a lot of guards and stuff there. So like on their way out, I could see her trying to get close to Bear and to maybe try and pass her a lemon bar to be like, good job, Bear.
Okay. Make a either sleight of hand or stealth to see how discreetly you can get that to her.
I got a 20 on sleight of hand.
Nice. So yeah, you're able to.
Bear doesn't even know they have a lemon bar.
Yeah, right. Bear's like walking off, barely sweaty, is like
Chewing on a
sheathing
lemon bar.
the sword. Yeah, like passes the external gates here, and you see Cookie, and like you kind of know you probably shouldn't acknowledge her too much, but you kind of see her coming in your general direction, and she just kind of like passes by you, and you hear her say that to you, and then you take a few steps and you look down and you realize in your hand is a lemon bar.
Nice.
I want to give her. I want that to be inspiration she can use for later too,
Okay, all right.
if that's okay.
Yeah. I love that. Would that go to roll especially? Of course. Okay, so you have that for later. So tell me how you envisioned the strike going. I know you had the conversation with them already, Fergus, and it was basically like, let's get this started, when the tournament kicks off. But do you plan to like go in and get them? Do you plan?
No.
Did you plan for them to kind of come out on their own,
Yeah.
and then you would lead them from there, or are you kind of letting them take the ropes?
Fergus told them to like gather outside the casino, do a walkout at the the start of the time, and to like he would be there to like
Okay.
direct them. So he's just kind of like he'd be just kind of like standing there waiting for the people to show up.
Okay. So you hear the person, when all this starts, you hear the person making the announcements, hyping up the crowd, reminding them to go place their bets, talking about the two sets of combatants. Very little information, but enough information to get the crowd interested in who they are. And maybe like a second after, the kind of like sparks that went off to kind of signal the beginning of this, because this whole thing occurred over the course of like 30 seconds, right? Like this was a super quick combat. But like the pop goes off and you kind of look around, and everyone around you still pretty much just looks to be like the crowd at first. But then one person wearing the attire of someone who is like the card dealers at the tables kind of shows up and like looks around awkwardly like they're by themselves, and then another person shows up, and then three come out, and by like the passing of maybe 5 or 6 seconds, there's like 20 people all kind of standing around, like they've walked out. There's some shouting from the door, like the very front door of the casino, like somebody is yelling at somebody to come back inside, and they all kind of like are looking around, and then one of them spots you, and it's the one that you had approached, and they kind of look at you like,
And we all remember what his name was.
totally.
I think as Fergus like sees the first person walk out, he like suddenly goes like, oh no, and he like reaches into his bag and like finds something to like crudely write with, and something to write on, like some parchment or something, and he like quickly like makes some like postery big writing of like casino workers, not slaves, and like God, I'm trying to think of some cool slogans. We other cool slogans that come to his
We
mind.
want dental.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
and like health care for all and stuff, and quickly
Paid
like
time off.
and
Yeah.
and kind of like as people kind of like make their way out, he kind of like hands them one of the little like poster things that he's like quickly scribbling out for them to hold.
Okay. Yeah, you can see that the people who had they had been organizing the betting, they have like loose parchment around from like making the boards and putting up the information that they had put up. So you can kind of like sneak a couple of those while the commotion is going on, and make a couple of signs.
Yeah.
So you start handing them out to them, and they're just kind of looking at you, and a couple of them take these posters, and they're like, what do we do now?
He goes, stand right there, and he kind of like gestures at like the front entrance of the casino area, and chant with me. And he goes, "We are workers, not slaves. We are workers, not slaves. Give us healthcare or we leave. Give us healthcare or we leave." And
Okay.
and you know, chants like that, and kind of you know, gets the group to kind of chant along.
Okay, make a performance check for me.
11.
Okay. So you started off and you're kind of like making it up as you go. And so there's a little bit of that like, okay, this sounds good. And they all kind of start to repeat it at first. It's a little bit awkward and they're a little out of sync, but it just, you know, it takes a couple of seconds and they start to get like a good rhythm going. And then they kind of like, you're surprised at how well they come together and can kind of make like a strong, like confident chant out of this. And it starts to get the attention of the crowd. And there's somebody in the doorway who's like holding open the door and looking out and yelling at them, but you can't hear what they're saying over the sound of the chanting. And they like let go of the door and they go back inside and they look very unhappy. What would you say what your plans would be for them over the course of the tournament? Because there are several single combatants and there are going to be 8 groups, 8 doubles competing, and there are 32 singles. So they're interspersing the singles in between the doubles. It's going to take place over the course of a couple of hours. So is the plan just to for them to stay out there chanting?
Yeah, 100%. Like they're the idea is that like they are, you know, obstructing the tournament in a way of like, you know, this is costing you money to not pay us. Well, we are in your way. It's a bad time for you to not, you know, treat us well. So, you know, give us what we want, and your shit might run better.
Gotcha. Okay. Before we continue on, does anybody else have anything in particular that they want to be doing or need to be doing?
I think Cookie would probably, once she's done passing goodies out at the tournament, because I kind of see Cookie would probably do the people in the stadium and then start handing them out as she's walking back into the casino to get close to the collection.
Well,
because then
as you're are you gonna walk? Presumably, you'd have to walk by Fergus because he would be planted like near the front of the casino.
Probably, yeah.
Fergus kind of like looks at you handing out the brownies.
Yep.
And then kind of like looks over at like the betting area, and he goes like, "See if any of the other contestants are hungry."
Wow.
It's like, well, it's like I only made enough. It's like, these are a lot of brownies. I'll see if I have any left over and see what I can do.
And he just kind of like quickly nods and then goes back to chanting.
Yep, and then she would just keep walking, and as she would make her way closer to the collection and pass them out, yeah, I think she would wait a little bit to flood the bathroom.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if this is like very early in the tournament, you know the tournament's going to take a long time.
Yeah, so yeah, she'll wait to flood the bathroom then.
Yeah, you would probably even want to wait a little bit. I don't know how potent these brownies are. I guess
the dice will tell.
Yeah, depending on how potent they are, you're probably not going to want.
I did roll pretty high for making them, so
you did.
Yeah,
it'll be up to their constitution checks, basically.
Yeah,
which they will be making periodically from here on out.
So Cookie would be finishing up, passing up, and one thing to note that I think she probably did right when she like got into work was gives the flan to somebody who would give that to the boss to Defal, because she doesn't. As far as I know, she doesn't know where his office or anything is, so she'd probably give it to someone to give it to him. Who like give it to security and be like, "Hey, made this for the boss for the big day. Maybe you can give it a taste before things get crazy." So,
okay. And does the flan have that in it as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you could easily hand it off to, I think it was Imlawe you had spoken to before to figure out like what his favorite dish was. So you could hand it off to them for sure.
Okay, that's probably what she did when she came into work this morning.
Okay. So in between the double combatants, several of the singles go up. There's quite a few of them, and there's a little bit of like setup between each like match as well, and they have to hype each one up and try to encourage people to bet. So it takes longer than it probably would if this wasn't so much of like a fundraiser for the casino, if that makes sense. If this were just a straight like combat tournament. So several minutes go by, and go ahead.
Well, so Fergus like quickly once the people have been like chanting on their own for a minute, like Fergus kind of like slips away for a bit and then makes his way over to the betting thing to collect his winnings for the first round.
Okay. Go ahead and make a just to see how like smoothly you can get away from this group where they and the crowd don't like connect you to the two. Go ahead and make a stealth roll for me.
19.
Nice. So, there's stealth that's like hiding in shadows, and then there's stealth that's like urban stealth, which is just like going unnoticed and blending in. And you feel like you were able to really smoothly transition from this crowd over to where the bookies were, because there was like a small group of people passing by, and you just kind of like fell into step with them, like you almost were like part of that group basically, and then could branch off and go over and pick up your return on your bet. And there you will actually see that after about the course of an hour, the first round of all the doubles groups have gone. I'm going to try to make something.
Also, okay.
Go ahead.
So the odds were 3-2. So does that mean I won 300? Because I took 200 times 3 and then divided by 2. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 300. Okay.
Yeah. That should be everybody.
So only a 100 profit, not 300 on top of your 200? Okay, all right. I'm just making sure I'm understanding that. It's like...
Yeah. Yeah, it's watching the transformation and then wondering what was up made the return drastically change. So you should see another handout pop up. Over the course of the next hour, insofar as the doubles go, the victors of the second group, which was the Jocelyn and Kata versus Elaloth and Mithon. I always have a hard time with that name. I don't know why I made it that way.
I always have a hard time. I don't know why I invented it.
Yeah. It's like it's easier in my brain to read than for my mouth to say. And I just like every time I've done it, I'm like, man. So then there was I'll describe them a little bit because anyone around would have seen them. Jocelyn is a human warrior with long straight black hair in braids, feminine looking, piercing dark eyes, and ochre-hued skin. She also has a little bit of renown around her, and there's like whispers in the crowds that Morthos would definitely hear about how this was the one who disappeared for 7 years and has just returned. The person by her side, Kata, looks like a young dwarven cleric. Elaloth is a wood elven rogue. Very lithe, very graceful, short-cropped white hair, gray eyes. They look like they are old, not old like elderly for an elf, but old like a couple 100 years old for an elf. There are whispers about this person in the tournament as well. You don't hear anything specific, Morthos, but there's just a general din about this person. It could just be that they have like an intriguing presence and that there's nothing of note, really. She fights alongside a male wood elf, the one named Mithon. Then there's Finelli and Zixki versus Ignan and Chisota. Finelli is a dragonborn sorcerer. They have blue scales. There's not really like any talk about this person in the crowd. They actually fight with a goblin. Looks like probably a cleric by the shield and like pendant this goblin has that seems to have a bloody axe like emblazoned on it. And they do cast magic throughout the encounter. unsuccessful overall, though, because the other team wins. Inyan is a drow, actually. And this person is quite unique. First of all, they're a drow out in the open sunlight, which is kind of unorthodox because they tend to be light sensitive. But one of the things that could easily be seen as he passes through the barrier that a bear and Belladonna had passed through, he has like this pot of cream, and before he passes through it, he seems to be wiping it all over his skin, just like this application. And it goes on, and it's got like a whitish tone to it over his like gray purplish skin. But after he rubs it in, the tone to it seems to go away, and he's just got a little bit of like a shine to him. He also wears these metallic rings with straps on them around his eyes with like a smoky glass that almost seems to like protect him from the light as well. You can see several people. Go ahead and make a perception check for me, Morthos, because you probably have the best view of this. Now, and Bear and Bella, are you going to like stick around and kind of like scope out the competition?
Oh, yeah.
Do we get healed in between rounds?
You can take a short rest, and if you go and ask for the clerics, then they'll heal you up to full health, yeah.
I rolled a 15 on perception.
Okay. And if you two want to keep an eye and scope out your competition, then you could also roll perception as well on this one. So you can put your hit points up to full, by the way, and then anything you would get back after a short rest, you can go ahead and like give yourself back.
Rolled a crit fail for my perception.
Okay, so you don't notice Bella.
Nope.
Are you keeping a close eye on them, Bear?
Sure. Yeah. So
Go ahead and roll a perception check. Okay. Yeah, it's not a smell check, unfortunately.
I don't get that anymore, I don't think.
No.
That's so sad.
You should try.
Okay. Oh, can I smell them anyway?
You probably wouldn't be able to get close enough to them to smell them as a human, but I do plan on peppering in things if you try to smell things into the future. So go ahead and do try that in certain situations. You just won't be able to.
Can I suggest something to the DM?
What's that?
Since she is totem of the bear barbarian, if she is raging, can she have advantage on smell checks once again?
You know what? Yeah, I like it.
We'll get so angry so I can smell this.
Yeah. You're still going to have human senses versus bear senses, but I do like the idea that this is like a residual effect that kind of carries over.
And Bear rolled a 9.
Okay. So, Morthos, as you're watching, like I said, there's a bit of like a din about this person. People are kind of talking about like, oh, a drow and it seems like a man above ground and out in the sunlight, and they don't seem to be too bothered by it. Like, that's interesting. And one thing that you notice as you're kind of watching them is you see several people speak to him, but you never see him speak back to them. You'll see him move his hands around with like an inquisitive look on his face. And if the person does not respond back to them in a way he's expecting, he'll reach out and gesture for like paper, and he'll write things down to them. But you never see him actually speaking.
Okay.
There is a human woman by his side. She has green hair, actually. Her name is Chisota. She has like a rapier at her side, but apart from that, there doesn't seem to be too much that hints at her fighting style until you notice there seems to be like a small cylindrical tube like attached to her belt on her left side. And you're not sure whether that's like a blowgun, like for darts, or maybe like a flute of some kind. But once they start facing off against their opponents, it becomes very clear that she's a bard. The last group to face off is Jainan and Baltan versus Hardo and Lily. Jainan walks out and is one of those individuals that is immediately noticeable. They have a deep golden skin that almost seems to shimmer in the light. There's like almost this presence to them that's like the sun almost just reflects off them in a way. They have this like jet black hair that almost looks like it has like a blue sheen to it when the sun shines on it. Bright copper brown eyes. They have a person with them that has bluish skin and like decidedly like aqueous features, like almost like you think you can see gills around the side. This person would be, to anyone familiar with a Triton named Balton. They seem to be a druid by the weapons and accoutrement they carry. Hardo is a halfling. They seem to be a paladin, and you don't see too many halfling paladins, but they're decked out in armor. They've got a shield and a short sword, and on the shield is a picture of like a sheaf of golden wheat. And go ahead and make a religion check, anyone who's watching this. He seems placid and cheerful, even calm, before the encounter and during it.
I get an 18 on the religion check.
And I rolled a 17.
And I rolled a 12.
So Morthos and Belladonna, you recognize the sheaf of wheat to represent Shantea, who is a harvest goddess. So it's interesting. There are not a whole lot of paladins for Shantea, but they are a halfling, so maybe that makes a little bit of sense. They have with them a halfling woman named Lily. She, although she has what appears to be a pendant that looks like something a cleric would wear, she is definitely wearing armor and has a series of daggers strapped all over her body. So whether or not she is a cleric is kind of up for debate until she fights, at which point it becomes very obvious that she's a rogue and just seems to be a devout person. So we see the winners of all of these encounters, which means that your next encounter is facing off against Elaloth and Mithon.
Were any of these other battles notably like blowouts or anything, kind of like Bear and Bella's was like a quick one-sided decided match?
It was a real bear out.
Overbearing, you might say. So Elaloth and Mithon seemed to pretty handily defeat Jocelyn and Kata. Not quite so much a shutout, but it still was almost no competition. They did just trade a few better blows back towards Elaloth and Mithon. Inyan and Chisota wiped the floor with poor Finale and Zixki. Just, they had absolutely no chance. It was pretty much as bad as it was for Merwin and Serpentwind. The Jainan, Balton, and Hardo Lily was pretty evenly matched. In fact, there was a moment where both Hardo and Balton had gone down, and it was just Jainan and Lily facing off. And Lily barely managed to eke out the victory for the two of them. So that one seemed to be a little bit more even-keeled. The one that looks like probably the biggest threat is Inyan and Chisota.
Great.
So we'll see him in the final.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're called up. You're facing off with Elaloth and Mithon. The announcer, similar to before, has you walk through the barriers. Again, this time, Bear, no changes, so that's nice. No pain. They have you stand in the same spot as before.
And this time they turned back into a bear. You don't know what's going to happen.
Whoa, wacky inflatable arm failing bear man. The wand goes to the throat again. They make a bunch of announcements. They encourage people to bet. They hype you both up. And this time, the announcer takes a moment to remind the crowd about how well you two did in the opening battle of the tournament. You wouldn't know this, but the odds for this encounter have now been tabulated, and they're actually in Belladonna and Bear's favor.
That's right.
So a win from them won't be as big of a payoff.
Yeah, thanks. Fucking throw the fight.
Mm-hmm. And so the announcer is like, without further ado, they turn around, and at this point, so many combats have occurred that you all know to wait for the spark. And there's a moment of silence, and everybody's tense and waiting for the signal.
Welcome to the mid-podcast break, where we talk about cool things that happen in the middle of Dungeons & Gamers, like thanking you for listening to the podcast. There's a lot of D&D podcasts you can listen to, and this is one that you are listening to. or else I don't know how you're hearing this. Thank you for listening, and if you want to help the show succeed, please tell other people that this is a podcast that they can listen to, and maybe like put them in a chair, give them like a lollipop, and then play the podcast for them so that they have to hear it if they want a lollipop. Thank you once again for listening. Please rate and review us and subscribe on your podcatcher of choice. And catch you next time on the Flippity Flop.
The announcer lets the silence hang in the air for just a moment, and then there is the shower of sparks that you are expecting. So go ahead and roll initiative for me again, please.
Should Fergus bet?
Did you not already do that?
Fergus collected his winnings, but there had like you explained the other combatants, but I didn't get odds or a chance to bet.
Oh, that's right. Okay. This time I did say it was in their favor, but I didn't give you the number. This time it's 2 to 3, like in their favor, basically, instead of 3 to 2 out of their favor.
I'm sure. Okay, so I would then take the number, double it, and divide by 3.
Yeah. So if you were to bet like your 200, then 400 divided by 3 would be the like winnings that you would get. Like. It's a small amount. Does that make sense?
Well, okay, so
you get like 33 gold on top of your...
Well, so saying I got 300 because, you know, it was 3 to 2. So if I bet all of that, and so I'm taking times 2, I get 600, and then divide by 3, I actually end up with 200, which is less than I gave them. So I'm like, I don't think that's math is right. I don't think that's how that's supposed to work.
If you were going to bet 100, you'd see, and you got it right, you'd get 167 back.
Because it's 2/3 of the bet.
Yeah. Where before it was like 1.5 times it was 3 to 2 the first time.
Okay, so I did do it right the first time. I bet 200 and I got 300 total.
No, because the bet was against them, so the odds were against them. So if they win, you get a higher amount.
Okay.
That's how much your winning was.
Okay, so so in total I got 500 back.
Yeah. Sorry,
okay.
I probably answered wrong earlier. Like.
Okay, so then Fergus would put down 500 on Baron Belladonna.
Okay.
Like, and he like takes like they hand him back his winnings, and then he like grabs the bag and he puts it back down and he's like, "Let it ride."
Let it ride. Okay. I like it.
And then he put on a leather jacket and he became a biker.
Cool.
Then he puts down his sunglasses.
No. Fergus rolls for cool.
Rolls for cool.
I rolled a 15.
I rolled a 10.
Mithon rolled a 19 and Eloloth rolled a 12. So Mithon will go first. All right, so Mithon is going to dash forward at Bear.
Oh, sounds familiar.
I've seen this move before. I've watched this movie.
He literally rolled a 9 and a 6, which was a crit fail. Like, this is... I'm the, like, worst DM ever. I roll so terribly. There's, like, no threat in combat. No one ever even is worried.
There never is.
He rushes forward. He draws 2 short swords. And this is sort of notable because typically the offhand weapon would need to be... not necessarily need to be lighter, but most people would have like a smaller weapon in the offhand, and he seems to be wielding 2 full-size swords without any issues. But unfortunately for him, you are too quick, and he doesn't even manage to get like a glancing blow. It just completely misses as you like dodge deftly out of the way. But he stands his ground, and then it is Isabella's turn.
Okay. So, can I sneak attack that one?
Yes.
Because it says I don't need advantage if they're within 5 feet of one of their enemies.
Exactly. So since he's attacking Bear and is within 5 feet of her, you get sneak attack if you hit. You don't have to have advantage for it.
Now, if I shoot ranged into melee, that's not super great if I miss, right? Like, that could be bad for Bear.
I can take it.
Yeah, I mean, because of the angle that you're at right now, you'd be shooting away from her anyway. So here's the way I see an archer as somebody who shoots a bow. If you are a level 3 adventurer, you are skilled enough not to accidentally hit your teammate.
Okay.
You're going to miss the other way, right? Now, if you're shooting directly at them and that person's on the other side and you crit fail, then we might talk about maybe like accidentally causing some damage to them because it was like super unfortunate. But you're not even at an angle where you would be shooting like with her on the other side, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So there's no like official rules about shooting into melee.
Darian, don't forget that you have your assassinate feature if you attack the guy who hasn't moved.
That's true.
I'm not using that right now. You
Fair
guys
enough.
don't know I'm an assassin.
That's fair.
I'm not playing that game. But
Okay.
thanks for the heads up.
You know what I don't have anymore? Bear hug.
Yeah.
Oh, you could
Oh.
still bear hug people. It would just be a normal hug, though.
Yeah.
Wait, how tall is Bear as a human?
She's
You're
short.
like a big lady, right?
No, she's
Not-
super short.
Well,
Oh,
she looks short in that picture because she's like stocky. I would say she's like 5'10".
Thick.
oh, so she is a very big lady.
Oh, I
So
guess.
she's like tall
she
for
could
a woman.
totally bear hug.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's a tall woman, but not tall compared to the other people in her party, the dudes.
Not a freak like Morthos.
Not quite that bad.
All right, make your attack roll.
All right, I rolled an 18.
That will just hit. So go ahead and roll your damage, including sneak attack.
Oh, yikes. So 11 damage total.
Yeah, that is a solid hit. The arrow looses from your knock, and it just sails straightly towards him. True shot. And you manage to like sink it in a place where there's like a connection in the armor, so it penetrates pretty deep in there, and you can tell that this was like incredibly uncomfortable for him. Is there anything else you'd like to do with your turn?
Not at this time.
Okay. Elithoth. I keep calling her Elithoth now. I've done this to myself. Why did I do this to myself? Okay. She is similarly going to take cover behind there and be peeking out and shooting. She's going to aim for you. But she's gonna roll a 9. Oh my god. I can't do anything.
Can't touch this. Nah.
Baby, for sure though.
This
She does
strat
get-
has already proven faulty. I don't know why they watched the first match, right?
It's been like an hour. Maybe they weren't even there. What is your AC?
14.
Okay, so she actually gets to take 2 shots, and both of them miss, clattering against that barrier behind you and falling to the ground somewhere near your side.
She gets to take 2 shots. How do
She
I
does.
get to take 2 shots? How do I get to that point?
You got to be an NPC.
Shit.
I think no, rogues don't ever get the extra attack. They just get their offhand attack if they're dual wielding because of sneak attack.
Oh.
All right. Bear's up.
Yep, Bear's turn.
Okay. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
swing my big old sword at him.
This person has no idea what they just walked into.
Hopefully they watched the first one, so they're ready. I rolled an 18.
Okay.
Which will do. Oh, I'm a rage again. Sorry.
That's fair. Yeah, you're fine.
I already calculated,
I'm
did the
always
math.
angry.
That's my secret. I raged. I hit an 18. It'll do 10 damage if it lands.
Okay. It does. 18 is his AC, so that's the target number for hitting
Wow.
him. And
Dang.
you've both managed that both times. And
That's how you use a sword.
it's you you hit him and he's got armor on and you can see it dent. And like instead of ending up taking piercing damage, it's like straight bludgeoning damage as the armor like attempts to defend him from the blow, and you just like rend the armor under your swing. Is there anything else you'd like to do with your turn?
Nah, I'm good. I did the giggling. It's good.
Okay. All right. Is his turn again?
I think Morthos is finding Bear scarier now as a human. But
You're like, fuck.
It was always in there.
Okay. Right. This time, he manages to hit you with one of his attacks for 8 damage. You have managed to rage before this, so you'll be taking half damage at 4. And then I'd like you to make a Constitution save.
Uh-oh. I don't like that. Good thing my constitution's massive.
Yeah.
I rolled a 14.
All right, you managed to make your save then. He looks excited at first when the first blow lands and he sees the blade, the short sword, cut into your skin. And then there is a moment where you can see almost the disappointment for some reason, probably having to do with that sort of like sickening feeling you almost had for just a moment. Bella, it is your turn.
I'm gonna shoot at Elaloth, right? The one that's
Okay.
hiding.
Yeah,
Yeah. I rolled a 20.
that'll hit. Yeah.
Not Nat.
Nope, not a nat 20, just 20 total.
Dirty 20.
I would have been way more excited if it was a nat 20. I did 5 damage.
All right. Okay, that was a solid hit. You can see that even despite the bit of cover that she has behind that column, you were able to sink it directly into like the meat of her thigh that was like sticking out and unobscured. Anything
Sounds
else you'd like to
awful.
do with your turn? Yeah, it's terrible. Oof.
Can I try to take a bonus action to hide?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to roll?
Yeah, you roll stealth.
Okay. I've been looking at that this whole time, like, take a bonus action to do one of these 3 things, and I'm just like, nah.
It's a bit of a tricky situation because you are kind of like out in the open and they kind of vaguely know where you are, but depending upon the roll, if it's high enough, you might be able to like catch somebody off guard depending upon their passive perception. But
Okay.
definitely try.
I will definitely try then. I rolled a 14.
Okay. All right. We'll see how that pans out, but you feel pretty good about that. Where do you go to try to hide?
Honestly, I kind of want to just tuck behind probably the left pillar like near the shadows.
Okay. All right. On to Elithar. What does a passive perception? Not good enough. She looks out. She's like, huh. Flips around to the other side, takes a shot at Bear. Finally. Okay, so lands 2 arrows. Like seriously, wow. 2 arrows come flying out from the other side of the arena. It's almost like as this person is fighting, when one arm comes up, an arrow comes shooting out from another, and when the other comes up to slash across, another arrow comes from like the other side. It's very obvious that these 2 have fought together several times. So the first one does 7 damage, of course halved. So we'll take 3 for that, and the second one does 6 damage, halved to 3 as well.
Is there a mosquito in here?
Okay, and then Bear.
Oh, yeah, it's my turn again. All right. Swinging my big sword. Unfortunately, I rolled a 16.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, a 16.
Yeah. So this time, that, like, going back at that same area where you felt like, okay, well, the armor rent last time, so clearly this is like a weak point. Instead, it somehow almost like catches it again in the same place. And there's like a little bit of a grin on his face as he kind of like shoulders the blade away from him as he's getting ready to make his next attack. Is there anything else you'd like to do?
No.
I'm not sure there is anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Rage harder.
I'm even more angry.
Double rage.
And now it's his turn. Ooh, here we go. What's your AC again?
15.
Okay, perfect. So these two hit as well.
She's so happy about it. God.
Well, I mean, like, the first battle was so bad. I literally did roll above a 10, like, so many times. I was like, these sound, like, really underpowered. I'm just rolling so terribly that these are going way too easy for you. So, so he, as he, like, shrugs your blade out of the, like, crook in his armor that you've created, he comes up and does, like, a backhanded slash almost at you. It does 6 damage, but you're raging again, so it's reduced to 3. And then with his offhand, he manages to basically, like, sink one right into your gut, and you can feel, like, your skin break and the blade into your side. And you take 4 points of damage. It was 8, half to 4.
Oof.
He grins again, and there's, like, a little bit of blood coming out the side of his mouth, but he looks like he's, like, in that sort of, like, thrill of battle that somebody can be in. Okay, Bella, it is your turn.
I'm going to turn and take another shot at him. That's a 9.
Okay. It glances off the back of his armor and careens into the sort of, like, barrier where it ripples and falls to the ground. Anything else? Oh, well, you had hidden, though, and he couldn't see where you had gone. So if you're hidden, you have advantage on the attack, actually.
Yes!
That was the upside of hiding as well. Not only did she not know where you had gone, but that means he doesn't know and doesn't get that bonus. So go ahead and roll again.
That's a crit. That one's a crit. So a total of 25, I guess.
Okay.
Woo!
And roll your damage, including sneak attack. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, what is that? 10, right? 5 times, or no, what?
Yeah,
geez.
so-
Yeah, I rolled a 5, so 10,
Mhm.
13 plus 5,
Mhm.
18 damage.
No.
Mhm. Well, you get to double the sneak attack on a crit, too.
So, 23 damage? That man's dead. How am I supposed to not kill him?
So you know that you're not, this would true death him. You know that's not supposed, but you can make the decision. You knew that he was like, you could tell by his body posture and by the hits that he'd already taken that he was close to death. So you can choose to
Aim for the leg.
Yeah, sink it in his shin or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're gonna shoot him through the back of the calf, and it's gonna like go through the armor and through his leg, and it's gonna have to be like surgically removed. But he's
One
not
arrow
gonna
takes
die.
out both legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just like straight through.
He was an
there.
adventurer until he took an arrow to the knee.
To the knees.
Yeah. Yeah, so he collapses to the ground. He doesn't look like he's unconscious, but he's kind of doing that thing where like he's done. He's like rolled over. He's got his hand on his leg. And at this point, the other one. Well, do you want to do anything else with your
Yeah,
turn,
can I take a bonus action to try to hide from her again?
Sure, go for it.
Oh, I rolled an 8. That
Okay.
one's not going to be as good.
You're doing the same thing you did before, so we'll see how that pans out based on their perception. So she hears him cry out in pain and turns, and we're going to make a quick will. Okay, she continues the fight. She looks out. She sees both of you, but she sees that him lying in front of Bear and decides that's who she's shooting. So one arrow kind of like glances off of the pelt that you're wearing actually, and the other one sinks into the like meat of your arm, and you take 6 damage, half to 3. She's going to move back around here, but I think both of your passive perception will let you both see her kind of like trying to, like the sand isn't exactly even. There's not like dunes or anything, but she's definitely trying to like dodge around where she's like in the darkness where you can't exactly tell where she's at. But again, like this is an open battleground, so it's not like you can really hide super well. You have to like really do a good job of staying out of the way. So you're both going to end up being able to see where she's at. And then it's Bear's turn.
All right. Bear's gonna like hold her guts in and then run at her and take a big old swing.
Okay.
I rolled a 14. 9 damage, maybe.
That'll hit. Okay. You charge across, just like last time. You charge across, you make this big swing, you connect solidly, and just like, you can see the pain on this woman's face as like, you probably have just broken some ribs along with whatever flesh has been rent. She is still standing, if leaning against this column ever so slightly. But she is not quite vanquished. Anything else you'd like to do with your turn?
No. They don't deserve to be flexed on.
Bella?
All right, I'm going to take another shot at the rogue.
Okay. She was able to keep her eye on you, so you don't get advantage, but you do have sneak attack if you hit because Bear is next to her, and but she does also get half cover from being behind the pole unless you reposition.
Ooh, okay. Then I would like to reposition. Oh God, they are approximately-ish.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
I rolled 14.
That'll hit.
Cool.
I don't think you can not do enough damage to fell her. No, she has 2 hit points.
Oh,
perfect. So where do you shoot her to make sure that you don't kill her?
We're gonna go for the legs again.
Okay, just sweep the legs right out.
Why
from
not?
under him. All right, sounds good. So arrow flies true. It sinks swiftly into the meat of her calf, just like with him, and she instantly just falls to the ground, holding her leg and kind of like leans back and screaming in agony. And at this moment, just like last time, the robed people come out and start administering healing magic. So this time they're having to remove arrows from within armor. So it's taking a little bit more time. A little bit of cleanup going up on the sand this time, but you emerge victorious yet again. The crowd at this point, especially people who were here earlier, because some time has passed and new people have trickled in. No one really, it appears, has left. It doesn't look like the crowd has thinned out any. It's only gotten bigger. There are people like standing around the edges now and like peeking around the sides where they can't actually find a place to sit. And there's just this thunderous roar as the second person goes down. And the announcer comes back again to announce your victory. And that you will be facing off for the title in the duo tournament later today. And directs for you to leave as they're tending to the very, very wounded
Oops.
other people. And you can seek again, same thing, healing as you leave.
And how many
you'll have
hit points total did that Mython person have?
His total was, he was quite tanky. He had 32.
Cool.
32.
Yeah.
So by the end, you just had a handful. So you were going to like true death him basically if you didn't pull your punch on that one. Yeah.
He also took full damage for each hit. Bear probably would have been way worse off if they weren't halving everything.
Yeah, he was the other person had a decent amount of hit points. Or no, they had fewer hit points, but they were halving everything because they were barbarian, but they also had lower AC. So he had more hit points, but he also had an 18 AC, which should be fairly hard to hit at this point. But y'all roll really well, so...
I missed once.
Yeah.
I also missed.
Yeah, each of them had 2 attacks each. That's how many times
Yeah,
they missed.
I would have been KO'd if I hadn't been raging.
Yeah, their hits aren't nearly as hard as yours, so that's the balance there.
Although, yeah, the thing you got to think about, Beckers, is how many times can you rage per day?
3. And if you'll
Hey.
notice, there'll be 3 fights.
No, but the entire heist is happening today.
Yeah, but I'm fighting now.
Yeah, but if we fight later, you can't rage.
That's a
But she
sacrifice
doesn't
that
rage
I'm
the
willing
next
to
one.
make.
She might not make it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know this is
Live in
this
the
is
moment, Bryce.
okay, I'm just letting you know.
Like, hopefully we'll be all teamed up together by then so we can, like, help each other out.
When we're fighting every guard in the casino, you're like,
The ones
They'll
that
be too
aren't
busy
covered in
pooping.
poop.
I wish I could get angry right now. I'm just not feeling it.
I'm just not that
I'm just
into this.
So happy that
They're all going to be shitting their pants. It's fine.
Anyway,
I still have the lemon bar.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, Morthos, go ahead and make a perception check for me. And also, is there anything that you want to be doing specifically while you're kind of like watching these showdowns take place?
not like that needs to be super developed in any way, but I was thinking Morthos is probably trying to kind of haggle and try to run like side bets with people near him in the crowd if he can. But
Okay.
yeah, just that kind of thing. An 11 perception.
These fights have been pretty intense, and so it's been pretty well keeping your attention. But you do notice that there are 2 fewer guards stationed here than there were earlier today. You're not sure why, but you're just doing a head count, and you're like, I wonder there's only 14 of them now instead of 16.
I bet they're pooping their pants right now.
Maybe. Who knows?
Or maybe they're gay and they're making out behind the bleachers.
Could be that too. Totally.
Don't attribute every missing character to poop.
If there's anything that you learn in this campaign, it is this following advice. Yeah. Okay, so that one wraps up. Anyone who placed bets can go and receive their payouts. Is there anything else anyone wants to do before we skip forward to the final one? I know that there's a plan to like flood the bathrooms and all that, but I think that you're supposed to wait for that until they win, right? So that they're in the collection when that happens. That was the plan.
More or less, yeah. Because the guards need to be unable to poop at the time. Anyway, how is the strike going? Have more people come out? How's that looking?
Based on the size of the crowd, like it's hard to say because you've been there on like normal days. You know that just like the glance that you had at the tournament and the attention that you have paid to it, you know that there's more of the like casino guards here than you've ever seen in one place before. It seems like they've probably done like an all hands on deck kind of thing. So there's more people than there would be on average. So it's kind of hard to say how many people there might actually be inside dealing and running tables. But you've never seen more than maybe 4 or 5 on a slow night and maybe like 7 on a pretty busy one in the main rooms anyway. And you're seeing a good like 15 people outside. So there's at least a couple of shifts worth of people out there. They're still waving around your signs. They're still doing their chants. They've made up a couple of new ones. And those are going pretty well too. The crowd rolled an 18 on their performance check. So they're like in time. They're like adding stomps into it, doing a little clapping.
Good job, crowd.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. This is the next stomp act. Little did you know. But no, and it's drawing attention of both the patrons. And go ahead and make a perception check. Because I'm assuming you're paying attention to the arena as well as the picketing, or are you sticking with the picketing?
I think he's basically focused on the picketing unless there was something really like that really caught his attention. So
Okay,
I'll roll.
all right.
Well, I rolled a 20, so if there was something, he probably saw it.
Okay. You have seen at one point, I don't know if they actually described this person to you, but at one point you have seen several people come to the door, obviously dressed in violet clothing, and like try to yell a couple of things or like gesture to some of the workers that are outside picketing, to no avail. And at one point, a dragonborn comes out.
Mm.
Did they describe friend to you at all? I don't think so, and I don't think
Cookie would have done it, and Cookie would be the only one who would have said it. I don't think she would have mentioned friend. I don't think it came up.
Okay.
I don't think Cookie really interacted with Friend. It was more Bella and Morthos
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
interacted with him.
And at the time, they weren't like a pivotal person. They gave them the vouchers, but it was more as like representative.
And well,
so.
he took them in the back of the
Yeah,
collection.
didn't he accompany us into
Yeah,
the collection? And then
yeah.
I kind of like
And
bashed the Duval
Yeah,
a bit. And
Morthos kind of pissed him off a little bit.
Mhm. So this dragonborn comes out looking quite frustrated. There's like a huff at one point, like closed mouth, like smoke kind of billowing out the nose, or maybe smoke, maybe some other material, but obviously some sort of like exhaust, maybe related to a breath weapon. And they come over and they start talking heatedly to one or two of the people that are out there picketing, and the conversation does not go well for the Dragonborn. These people seem to be rather motivated, and he just shakes his head at one point and goes back inside. But you've seen several people come out and try to break it up and get them to stop and come back in, and it's not working so far. They're staying strong.
Does it seem like there's any guards striking, or is it all kind of dealers?
It all seems to be the dealers.
Okay. Wow. Cookie's friend didn't want to help the workers. Fergus
he's busy.
Might be busy, yeah.
Fergus is trying to like slip in and out of the the strikers to like keep them motivated, but not be like too like seen with them too much, so that he doesn't like pull attention to him.
Okay.
So he kind of like slips into the crowd, and as like a chant starts to die down, he kind of starts to go like, "We're the casino's blood. Without us, you will bleed. We're the casino's blood. Without us, you will bleed." And gets that chant going as he kind of like slips in and then tries to slip out after they kind of follow along.
Nice. Okay. Go ahead and make a persuasion check. Or performance, I guess, depending upon what you would prefer.
Sure, one's higher.
I have a +3 to persuasion, and I got a 7.
Okay.
So.
You can tell at this point that after a couple of hours have gone by, like they're motivated to stay out there, but they are losing a little bit of steam. Like it's not like they're just not going to do the chant. Like you start doing it and they join in kind of with you. But after a couple of hours, and it doesn't seem like there's been any sort of like delegate sent out to like parlay with them or anything. There's kind of like that uncertainty washing over them. Like, okay, well, what do we do if they just don't do anything?
Do you want me to roll insight to like determine if I have that vibe, or do you just does Fergus like?
No, this is like you're there and you're walking around them, and you can hear them talking to each other and stuff. And as you dip in and out, you can hear the like concerns that are shared quietly behind the chants and things like that.
Okay, I think as he like is in there and hears the kind of murmurs, he goes, "We just need to hold out a little longer. As soon as they are really feeling this, I'm gonna go in there and speak for you. We are going to get your demands heard. So you do your job, and when the time is right, I'll do mine." And he kind of like louder than it, like after saying that, like louder than anyone, like chants the chant, like, you know, loudest to kind of like, you know, get people to match his volume.
Okay. You feel like it's like they're taking your words to heart is what it looks like. Like nobody's going inside, no one's breaking the line. But there is definitely some uncertainty that's kind of like just stirring amidst them right now. Like maybe we haven't made a good decision. I guess we'll see if he makes good on this. You can just kind of see that not, I wouldn't say indecisiveness, but yeah, that unease, the disquiet.
We are your blood. Without us, you will bleed.
Are they questioning the logic of that one?
How can you bleed without your blood?
Right.
Well, no, no. If your blood is not inside of you, you are bleeding.
You can't bleed
what I'm
if
saying.
you don't have any blood.
I mean, then you're
dead.
Yeah, that's the suggestion.
They'll then say, "Without us, you will die."
Eh.
Yeah, I think that's what the
It's
workers
fine.
are like. They're running that over in their head, and they're like, "Huh? Wait, I don't know."
I don't know about this one.
Anyway.
Anyway. If there's nothing else anyone wants to do, then we'll move on to the final encounter.
I have a question.
Okay.
So I still have that lemon bar. If I want to use that, because, like, say I swing at somebody and it misses and I want to roll again, basically, right? Can I use that after I swing? Or just be like, let me eat this quick?
Bardic Inspiration works for 10 minutes in-game time, and a combat round is 6 seconds. So you guys are having these combats over the course of, like, 20 to 30 seconds, and they're over. Maybe slightly longer. So if you eat it right before you walk into the ring, it will last for the duration of that battle. You get to add a d6 to an attack roll, ability check, or a saving throw. So if you make an attack and you know you're close but you're not going to hit, then you'd get to roll an extra d6 and add that to the total number to try to push it over. Same thing as if there's like a saving throw.
Is that just for one roll or for all my rolls? During one?
Just
during
for
its
one roll.
effect. Okay.
Yeah. It's just one inspiration that you get to use on one roll. So you're going to plan to eat that like before you go in, basically, like right beforehand then? Okay. So moving on towards the end of the day, the single combatants, the reason why it's taken so long to get through this anyway is because of the sheer number of single combatants there were, and they were peppering a healthy amount of it in between the doubles.
Oh shit, we should have put
combats.
Morthos in a single combat. That way we can get even more people in there.
Missed opportunity.
The final for the single combatants occurs right
That seems
before.
like something.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right, that seems like something Fergus would have wanted to do. It's just like, let's let Morthos get his butt kicked. Just
that
like,
does seem like something. The difference, though, with putting you in is that your resources, once used, are gone for the day, except for your cantrips. Whereas a fighter, like when a rogue, can just they just have more arrows, right? But your spell slots run out. So I think that would be something that Fergus would want to do, but it would be really bad for the plan.
I don't think Fergus believes in Morthos's fighting ability enough to say, yeah, let's waste our time putting him in the fight.
Oh my
The only reason he would want that is like, hey, somebody I can bet against.
yeah, throw him in there, let him get beat up, and bet against him.
Yeah.
But then what if you ended up winning?
I guess what
Losing a bunch of money.
Fergus would be like, that's not gonna happen. We're fine.
Oh.
Plus, Morthos would probably bet against himself too.
Oh, don't forget your winnings for round 2, though.
Yeah, I'm up to 830. Which so
You're welcome.
what's the situation for betting for final round?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, how'd the second round of fights go?
So the second round of fights, I think I should be showing a handout to you now. The victor between Inyon and Chistota and Hardo and Lily was Inyon and Chistota. It was a similar, it was a little bit more of a shutdown than yours, in fact. The odds for the final battle, and Morthos, you were watching, and they seemed pretty evenly matched at first, but then it seemed like Chistota definitely is some type of bard. She pulled that flute out, and there was some sort of attack that didn't seem too familiar to you. One of them clutched their heads or something, and they seemed pretty shaken for the rest of the combat. And at that point, it was pretty downhill from there, and they kind of wiped the floor with them after that. So these two remain to
Which
be
one clutched
pretty
their head?
much the. It was Lily. It was the people that lost.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It wasn't like a Psyduck attack or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was picturing.
Yeah, no. So the person making the attack seemed to be Chisota against Lily on the other team. So it did seem to be maybe a spell or something psychic.
Becker's only weakness.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like the DM planned this.
No,
Nah.
I made a bunch of teams and then I rolled to see who would win among the teams,
And
and they wiped the floor with everyone.
interesting that the Belladonna Bear team always seems to already be filled in these brackets.
Well, because they just won that.
Well, that's
one.
just the chance that they do win if they do lose, right?
Well,
Somebody else probably rolled to
yeah,
win.
I'm guessing you pre-made these. You're not writing them in.
Oh yeah, you don't know how many there might be that you can't see.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
But also, if they hadn't won, then there would have been no point.
and then everybody sat around and watched the rest of the tournament, going, "Well, fuck."
Yeah, like, that sucks.
It's like,
Time
too
to go
bad,
home.
Fergus.
Yeah, right. Sorry, everything was riding on them. That sucks. No. So being able to watch that combat, you are 100% confident that this is going to be difficult for them. Just because of the skill set. They seem to be a little bit more magically inclined too. So there will probably be different types of obstacles for Bear and Bella to overcome for this one.
The totem of the bear is resistant to all types of attacks except for psychic.
Yeah.
Your only weakness.
Yeah, totem of the bear is so good. I think there is something you could eventually do to have that resistance too, but I don't remember what it was. Maybe that was just an item somebody homebrewed in a campaign I was in. So the final combat for the singles tournament occurs right before yours. You will be the grand finale for the afternoon. The two face off, and one of the combatants that steps on the field, they look to be half elven. They appear to be a cleric. They are decked out in the armor you would expect for a cleric. They have a large shield. Anyone who would be watching, go ahead and make a religion check for me.
Morthos rolled a 6.
Bear rolled a 19.
I'm trying to determine if Cookie would try and make her way over here for the last battle.
I mean, I think, passing out treats only takes so much time. And obviously, like, you don't want to pass them out to the people too far into the collection because you don't want them pooping too early. So there's not a reason to believe you spent several hours doing that.
Except doing her normal job in the casino.
Yeah, it's like that's what I was thinking she was probably doing is like, kind of doing her work. And then when there's free time, maybe getting away or something.
Especially with, as you've been inside, you've noticed there's a big kind of commotion going on. And after hearing a couple of the conversations between Imlawe and Fren and Rainey, who you know to be the host, you're getting the idea that basically the people who run the things while the collector is away are getting very uneasy about the situation with the dealers who are not, in fact, doing their jobs. So things are a little bit tense, and you could, if you wanted to, probably slip away without them taking too much notice to it, because there's not a whole lot of people inside eating right now. Everybody's kind of out watching the tournament, and there's just like they're pretty preoccupied with that hubbub of what's going on outside.
Okay.
But you don't have to. You think you could.
You got to restock the concession stands.
All right. She'll stop by and at least take a look. So I'll roll for the religion too. It's like,
Okay.
I want to roll something.
Yeah.
Cookie rolled a 9.
Okay. So a lot of you are watching this final combat between this person and somebody else who just seems to be like a very skilled fighter. This person seems to have a little bit more of a divine flair to their magic that they supplement their combat with. Given where you are right now, there's something familiar and amiss about this person, and you can't quite place it. You wouldn't even have picked up on that if you hadn't just happened to just catch something that feels weird about them. And the symbol that they're wearing looks familiar to you, but you can't place it. You recognize it as a god. If you weren't in your current state, you might get more information than that. But because of what we've talked about, I'd say that it's kind of a miracle that Barry even really has this much recollection. Except you know that this is a popular goddess.
I've seen this picture before.
The symbol. Yeah. And so the shield and the armor and the holy symbol that this person wearing is their armor is silver, and there's a figure of a woman beaten into the armor, so there's an outline of it, and the hair is painted bright red. What'd you say?
On the back of a truck, the silhouette of the lady.
Yeah. It's just her head, though, turned to the side. And there's like hair blowing the wind that's painted bright red. I would say that... are any of you proficient in religion?
I was before my transformation.
I got less religious as I'm not a bear.
I was a hermit, and it comes with the territory. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you even get the inclination with a roll that high, you even get the inclination that this is a popular goddess and that she has to do with love. So by all appearances, this seems to be somebody who like would champion causes of like love and beauty and things like that.
She might have seen that iconography on the Roy.
Maybe. But how much attention was Bear paying to
Yeah,
Roy?
I mean...
So like it looks familiar and there's something like that you can recall. You're not getting as much information on 19 as you normally would just because of where you're at right now.
Because you were a bear.
Well, not even necessarily. Well,
Anyway.
we won't go into it. But if no one else is proficient in it, that's the best of the information that the rest of you can get. It looks familiar, but you can't quite place it. And you're having this thought of like, oh man, I should know this one. I really should know this one.
Tip of my tongue.
Yeah, basically.
It's like, I remember studying this.
So at the end of it, this person defeats their opponent. It started off to be a pretty even match, but they came out on top, probably due to their ability to heal themselves. But they also seemed to have some very unusual magic for a cleric. There was a point where it almost seemed like there was more of them than one on the field. It was just a little odd. But they did win. They were announced as the what's the word I'm thinking of? The champion of the singles matches by the name of Alatel. It's difficult to tell what race they might be because they're wearing like a headpiece that is like protective. It's not like a full helmet, but there's definitely like protective gear to there. Gracie, can you stop, please? She's just like snapping at my feet and like not snapping, like clawing at them and like making all kinds of noises at me.
God, Cactus Cat, chill out.
For real though. I'm assuming Cactus Cat is at the hotel.
Oh yeah, there's no way she's here.
Yeah, Claudia. So they're announced as Alatel, and it's difficult to tell, like I said, what kind of what race they are because of the like protective headgear that they're wearing. So with the conclusion of the singles tournament comes the final face-off between Belladonna and Bear and Inyan and Chisota. So Inyan is the very like cheerful, upbeat almost as they are approaching the opposite side of the arena from you. There's like a spring to their step. They're a drow. They have like a purplish blue skin. And again, as they are like about to step through the portal, they stop and they start applying this like white cream all over their skin, and they don these like smoky glass like spectacles of some kind.
Wait. Are they putting on sunscreen? I can't believe I didn't get that before. Oh my god. Sorry.
It's okay.
And shades.
Yeah, I think that the drow cultures, the ones who would come up to land, would have developed sunscreen by now, just so that they weren't constantly just like in pain and in being in existence in the sun. So he has sunglasses and sunscreen. What exactly it is
Beautiful.
probably doesn't like necessarily make sense to you because this is not something that would be common use for most like topsiders. But knowing, like, especially as an elf, the two elves especially would be like, they're usually not like. They're usually having a bad time in the sunlight. He doesn't seem to be impacted by it too much. And he keeps putting this stuff on himself, so maybe that helps in some way. But yeah, it's definitely sunscreen and sunglasses. So he, again, now that you are standing across the arena from them and get to see them kind of like prep, you too, Bella and Bear would notice that, well, it seems like people speak to him. It doesn't seem like he responds to them like verbally. It seems like he will start to move his hands around. And if the person doesn't seem to react the way he's wanting, he'll ask for paper and he will write things out to them in response. He is flanked by a human woman with green hair and bright eyes. This is Chisota, and at first glance, just like I told Morthos earlier, she has like a rapier at her side, but she has something like that's on her right side, so it appears that she's a left-handed fighter. And then she's also got something on her left side that at first is kind of difficult to tell what it is, but as you two are called into the center and you get closer, you can tell that it is a small flute. So, the announcer, again, this time it is the final showdown. This is the culmination of not only the doubles matches, but the entire tournament at this point. This is the very final fight. They're taking a long time with the announcements. They're talking about the previous matches you've had. You both are clearly the two top groups who have handily defeated their opposing combatants with very little difficulty is what it looks like from the outside. The crowd's cheering. Some people are booing, depending upon who they're talking about. And you feel like less like the boos are like, "Oh, we hate you," and more like, "I bet on the other person. Dang it, like I lost because of you." But there's still a general like good cheer amongst the crowd. At this point, the sun is like crested over midday, so it's probably more like early afternoon. It's getting kind of warm, but not too terribly uncomfortably. They go on and finally come to the point where they give everyone like basically the last call for placing their bets. So I know Fergus, you're wanting to bet on the final fight as well.
Yes.
Okay. So based on the performances that have occurred so far, it is 2-1 in favor of the other team.
Okay, so
betting on yours would be the bigger payout, but this time
would double.
It would double.
Okay.
But they have placed a limit on it. This one of 300 gold.
The fuck? Then yeah,
Stupid Robin Hood limiting our shares.
Oh my god.
Pretty soon.
That's not dating this episode at all. Or when we're recording this episode at all.
Yeah.
We'll have to strike against the fucking bookies.
I'm pretty
next.
sure it'll go down in infamy, so it's probably fine.
Fergus puts down 300 for Baron and Belladonna, and then he like pulls out another 300, and he's like, the wolf also wants 300 on the Baron Belladonna team.
Two of them kind of eye you up and down, and they like their eyes rest on the huge pouch of money that you have at this point. It's like massive. And they kind of give you this look like you don't think you're the reason why we have placed this limit on the bet. But go ahead and make a persuasion check. This will be a difficult sell.
20.
No.
and then like I want to say Fergus has taught like Fergus has been training both with Rascal and Bear, and like with Bear he's just been like, hey, like fight good, but with Rascal he's been trying to teach him tricks, and he's like when Fergus like pats the side of his leg, like Rascal like barks a little bit, and so he like as he says that like Fergus quickly like pats the side of his leg, and then Rascal goes kind of acknowledgement, like yes.
Gosh, Rascal sure sounds like he's lost some weight. Is he 20-pound Gorky, or like how big are you?
Hero, come on, we need some Foley.
Hero, here, he's asleep.
It's like, nope.
Anyway,
So they kind of give you the side eye, and one of them looks to the other one and says, "Dogs can't really bet, can they?" And they like pull open this book and they start reading through.
there's no rules. Dogs can't play basketball.
Right? Yeah. They kind of close it and they look at you and they say, "We'll do 400."
Fergus like looks back at Rascal, and he looks at the guys and goes, "Okay, but he's not going to be happy."
They kind of like give you a curious look and look down at him a little nervously.
And then as they look down, he like pats his leg again to make Rascal bark.
They jump back a little bit, kind of like clutching their books.
Okay, so I get 400.
Mhm.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll initiative. Oh my god, of course.
Nice.
I'm starting off hot. I rolled a critical whatever for initiative and I got a 22.
You roll a nat 20.
Wow.
And I rolled an 18. That's
Wow.
good. What a good start.
And remember, I downed that lemon bar. I'm ready.
And then she gets KO'd first round by psychic damage.
Let's hope not.
Yikes. Don't wish that on her. What's wrong with you?
And then Belladonna saves the day with some cool Rogan shit.
Oh, all right.
Maybe.
Never mind. Totally wish that on her. Fine.
Totally. No, never mind.
Let me save the day.
Durian's like,
I'll
I
do
want to
it.
do the combat good.
So, the announcer makes the final call for Betty. Fergus goes and places bets. Everyone else can place a bet if they would like to, or just take a seat or find a spot to watch. They turn around, they face you, they have you take your places, and you wait for the sign again, and then you hear the crack of the signal, and Bear, you will go first.
My opening move. Here we go. All right. I'm going to run up to Chisota because she's
Okay.
the little one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to see if you'll let me do this. I was going to try and shove her or / throw her into the brazier in the middle. Is that... Could I roll like an unarmed strike? Because it says actions in combat include shoving.
Yeah. So you'd have to be able to shove, you'd have to be able to get behind her. So
Okay, so
you've
let
only
me-
moved 20 feet if you get there. So if you circle around behind her, that's like all 30-ish of your movement. I'd say that you could do it there and still be like not on the outside of the arena though. And then this would have to be a 15-foot shove. I'm not sure how far you can shove someone.
What's your strength modifier?
Number of feet? Oh, okay.
Using the attack action, you can make a special melee attack to shove.
You're going to make an athletics check against their athletics check or against their acrobatics. If you
Okay.
win the contest, you can either knock the target prone or push it 5 feet away.
I
Okay.
can only push it 5 feet.
So not yet, but maybe that's something that could come up if you like have maneuvered them around nearby it. There are feats, like there's one called Charger, where as long as you take your action to dash, you get to make a bonus action attack, and one thing you can do is shove someone 10 feet. So there are ways that you can increase the length of that push, but you haven't gotten that yet.
Okay. All right. So in that case, I'm just going to run up to her and I'm going to swing my greatsword at her.
Okay. I assume you're raging first. Or no. You don't have to. I'm just checking.
I feel like me saying like, hey, we might need to fight later is making her rethink.
I'm going to gamble. I'll wait around and see how the first round goes because we get to go
Okay.
first. So
Fair
I
enough,
will...
yeah.
I mean, if they're going to psychic damage her, it's not going to matter if she's raging or not.
It says I'm raging, but I'm not raging. I swung and it was an 11.
Okay, so you'll swing, and this one is definitely smaller and less strong than the other one, and she does seem to be more lightly armored, but she also seems to be very agile. So you come making this big swing, intending to land a large blow, and she kind of like almost dances out of the way very gracefully. Anything else?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Belladonna, it's your turn.
Which one's the psychic?
The one that you would have seen before that seemed to... She played music, and then one of the other people clutched their heads. That would have been Chisota.
So that's the one that Bear's on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a clear shot of her?
Yeah, you could shoot at her directly right now. Like I said, with 5e, there's no rules about shooting into melee, actually.
Right.
But she would have a little bit of cover unless you like moved a little bit to one side or the other so that you weren't shooting directly from the other side of Bear.
I would want to move in front of this post. Can I do that?
Yeah, and then that's fine.
Okay.
Because that brazier in the middle doesn't like go up very high.
Okay. All right. So I'm taking my shot.
Okay. And you do have.
Oh no! Do I have
yeah.
advantage?
Well, they haven't gone yet, so you could use your assassin stuff, which I think gives you advantage, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it gives her advantage on
Yeah.
attacking someone who hasn't gone.
And it wouldn't necessarily be obvious
Yeah.
because Bear's already in melee with them. So Bella, if she was still wanting to kind of hide that side of herself, could probably get away with like making it look like Bear gave her an opening. If you want to do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay. Go ahead and roll again then.
For fuck's sake.
Oh my gosh.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, I rolled 2 critical fails in a row.
So you move around and you go to take the shot, and it sails straight towards her, and you can tell that it connects, but it's almost like preternaturally she saw it coming and was able to have the arrow like land into her armor, but in such a way that it was like almost going in sideways, and it didn't penetrate in any way, so that it didn't pierce her flesh. And that's like obvious as you can see it kind of like slide in through the side, like in the middle of the front, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay.
Can I take a bonus action to try to hide in shame?
Just leave the stadium.
Alright, that was fun. I rolled a 17 in stealth.
Okay.
So if this turns into a hide and seek competition, she's
You just
rolling
like
good.
Homer Simpson into the bush.
Right.
Just get
So-
absorbed into the bush, yeah.
Yeah. So where do you move when you hide? 'Cause you're kind of like right out in the open right there.
I am going to move just like as far back. Well, I'm going to hide behind this pole and just
Okay.
try to shrink behind
Okay.
it.
Sounds good.
I can't believe that.
That's
man.
ridiculous. I am hurt.
I feel like for the first time, Beckers is starting to feel worried about this fight.
Bear's worried about nothing.
Nah, we're good.
Okay. So, facing off with you directly, she doesn't look too happy about this bear, but she kind of like looks you in the face, and she's got her rapier drawn, but she reaches down and she pulls out this like small wooden instrument, and she plays like almost like this like haunting like 4 or 5 seconds of a melody that's just really unsettling to you, and I need you to make a wisdom save.
Oh, fuck.
Are you sure it's wisdom?
Yep. And it's wisdom.
Aren't you sure it's Constitution? I'm pretty sure you
Might be
misread
Constitution.
it.
11?
That is a failure, unfortunately. So you only take 1 point of psychic damage,
But 20 points of non-psychic damage.
but your next attack has disadvantage. And as you kind of like, you don't have to necessarily wince, but she seems to recognize that this came through, and she looks rather like proud of herself and a little yeah, she's a little sassy. Feeling a little sassy. She seems to gesture towards her partner, and it's almost like you can feel like a static in the air, and she does something. It seems to impact him in some way. And then it's going to be his turn.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is the barrier around the stadium something Morthos would interpret as magical silence?
It looks more like some sort of magic that's been constructed to block, like to protect the audience, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Like there's like Wall of Force and spells like that you would be vaguely familiar with as something that's like way, way far on the horizon for someone at your level. And this isn't exactly that, but it seems to be similar. It's like holding all the projectiles in. You feel like if somebody were to be like slammed against the wall, then it probably would like keep them from flying out into the crowd.
Okay.
You don't know what might happen if you tried to cast through it. It could alert somebody. It could show up. It could block it. It's kind of hard to say. But it doesn't
Okay.
look like silence because you can very easily tell that she is doing magic of some kind. There is casting going on. So she's not being silenced.
Okay.
So he grins and he draws. What does he have? A single short sword. And he looks at you, Bear. And
Becker's is doing this like scared but trying not to look scared face.
Nah.
Bear's not scared.
Bear's not scared. Becker's, who knows?
so a cone erupts from his open hand. It is 15 foot from him, and it sprays out towards you and the center, so it only hits you. It does not hit his companion.
A cone of what?
Blinding lights. A dazzling array of flashing colored lights springs from his hand, and you are blinded until the end of your next turn. So that means your attacks would be at disadvantage. You already had that, so it's not going to have too much extra of an effect because her spell took hold as well. Can't see and automatically fails any ability check that requires sight. Attack rolls against you have advantage as well. That's what it was. So their attacks until the end of your next turn will have advantage.
Becker's, just so you know, if you grapple someone, you can move them. So if you want to drag them over to the brazier, you could grapple them and like pull them somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I think that's just more like contested skill checks, but you can look at this person and tell that you are very much stronger than them. Well, you can look at them when you're not blinded, and you can tell that you're very much stronger than them.
Bear
Okay.
is blinded.
And that is, he is going to take a step over here and flank you. And now it is your turn, and you may attack, but it is at disadvantage.
I'm gonna grapple with the small one.
Okay.
So that means I would roll an athletics check. If I read this correctly.
Probably.
And I don't know why it did that, but I rolled a 14.
Strength athletics check contested by strength or dexterity. Okay, and you do have disadvantage. So that would be the 8, unfortunately. We'll see how well they roll.
I didn't know if it counted as an attack.
You're doing it in place of the attack action, so it counts as your attack action, if that makes sense. Because you're blinded and you're basically like still having to like lurch out and hope that you grapple them.
Okay. Well, I hope her roll sucks.
Let's see. She will definitely be using dexterity, which isn't great still, but she does manage to succeed. She's like slippery and wily almost. It feels like you make solid connection with her, and as you start to like try to like maintain your hold on her, she's almost like worms her way out.
I'm just like flailing around trying to touch them.
You know that if he hadn't blinded you, you know that you would have had a better chance at this, basically.
Yeah. Should have raged, Beckers.
Bear hugs were easier before.
Raging wouldn't have prevented these status effects.
Well, no, you would have.
That's actually true.
You would have had advantage on an athletics check if you're raging.
Oh, then it would have been a straight roll. Yeah, that would have been the only difference.
Okay, well, I'm not blinded anymore now, right?
Yeah, when your turn ends, you won't be blinded.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything else.
Okay. All right, moving on to Bella. You saw this flashing, like, array of light come out of his hand, and Bear seemed quite disoriented for a little bit there, but she seems to have, like, regained her footing and righted herself.
All right. I'm gonna move here so that I have a shot at the guard.
Okay.
Oh.
Chisota.
I'm gonna take a shot at her. Right? Her?
Yeah, her. Mm-hmm.
Mother, are you kidding me?
What is the likelihood of
What
rolling?
is happening?
You're rolling like me.
I got another crit fail. It's all you.
Bella's choking.
You rolled a 17 on your stealth, though, so you have advantage on this because they didn't notice
All
you.
right, let's see. Can we get 4 for 4? Oh, I got a 15 on that one.
Okay,
There we
15
go.
is what it takes. Yeah,
we
15
know
is her armor
that
class.
she's not broken, that she can roll numbers above 1.
Oh,
There's no glitch with her system.
Yeah, if you hadn't rolled a 17, though, their passive perception is significantly higher than the other one. So it helps that Bear is like interposed between the two of you, too. So it's harder for her to keep track of you on the battlefield. Anyway, so that hits, roll your damage.
Cool. Okay, so 7 piercing plus 6 from the sneak attack, so 13 total.
Okay.
That's not bad.
Good.
Oh, that's really good.
Is that the first damage we've done in this, or did Bear?
That is the first damage.
That's the
Yikes.
first, yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Ooh. How much damage is Bear taking?
1.
Okay.
Yeah, just one.
3 ones in a row, though.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about this anymore. We're gonna move on.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to do with your turn?
I'm gonna try to hide again. I'm gonna
Okay,
just
go
try
for
to
it.
tuck back over here if I can, but I don't know. Should I don't know. What do you think? Should I move it? I rolled an 8.
I think that this would be the most logical place for her to be, especially because there's that little shadow from the pillar there.
Right.
So there's even like a little bit of like, I mean, it's still like afternoon, so it's kind of hard. You're instead of like hiding, like, ooh, no one can see you. You're kind of like letting them lose you on the battlefield is what your goal is right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We come back to Chisota. She is going to stab you with her rapier. What's your AC?
15.
Okay, she just hits.
Damn.
Just rapier though.
Oh,
Also,
shit.
rolled good damage. So that's 9 points of damage.
Beckers, don't forget you can use your inspiration on, like, like the grapple check. You could have used your...
Yeah, but it's a 1d6. It wasn't close. Probably.
It's
maybe.
It's hard to know.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
You said 9?
Mm-hmm. 9 points of slash or piercing damage because it's rapier.
Bro.
Mhm.
Although that's the first damage anybody's Bear's
No,
taken, right?
I took 1 point earlier.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Bear's
that's
down
psychic.
10 now.
You're right. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
My mistake.
Okay. And he is going to lash out at you with 2 short swords. Or no, he only has one in his hand right now, so he draws his second one. He rolls a 20 and then a 7, so only 1 hit on that one. Yes, for 5 slashing damage. Oh wait, actually, he was inspired. He's going to roll. That's a 14. That's unfortunate. So he missed on the second one still. So they just look pleased with themselves, and it is your turn again.
All right. I'm angry now. I'm
That's
irate.
fair.
The bear's like, fuck this, conserving my energy shit.
Uh-huh.
I tried it your way.
I'm gonna swing at Chisota.
Okay.
I rolled an 18.
That'll hit. Mm-hmm.
Oh, but that'll do 13 damage.
That's exactly her remaining number of hit points.
Nice.
Okay. So
Who needed that rage?
yeah, literally you did. I'm assuming you again, like, she looked pretty beat up after the first go. So after the arrow came flying out of nowhere and sunk into her. So
kind of want to cut her arm off instead. I'm kind of mad at her.
that's fair.
Slap her with it.
You gonna bonk her or you gonna cut her?
I'm gonna cut her arm off.
You're really gonna cut her arm off?
I'm really gonna cut her arm off.
Okay.
Well,
So you make a big swing. It sinks deeply into her shoulder. It's really difficult to actually like completely sever someone's limb just with a swing, but it goes deep into the arm, and she collapses under the weight of it with a shrill scream. And he looks very worried.
I raged. I'm angry.
That's fair. Anything else you'd like to do?
I'm gonna go like this, like.
Can you describe that for the visual or for the
I
audio?
don't know how to describe that.
Like the come at me, bro.
Like,
Come at me,
what?
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's the universal come at me, bro sign.
Okay. Belladonna.
Well, I'm gonna shoot it. Inyan?
Mhm.
Nice. Nailed it. Oh my god. Well, we got another crit fail up in here.
No.
It's fine. I'm hiding. It's over. I don't care. I got a mad bear.
Oh no, I got
To be fair, I didn't move out of the way. Like, I shot straight into that pillar. I didn't move at all.
What's your stealth roll?
I rolled a 7. So that's like, whatever. It's fine. My turn's over. I'm done.
Like I hate it. I'm over
Oh
it.
man.
Okay. In that case, it would be Chisota's turn. But she is not currently conscious.
Currently.
I'm surprised we haven't been immediately disqualified.
She's not dead.
She's just unconscious.
It's just a flesh wound.
and she's only she was brought to 0, so she wasn't like this wasn't like a savage attack after someone already went down where it looked like they were trying to disobey the rules. It was a savage attack.
So
but,
no one
you know,
melee attack her on your way out.
Yeah, basically.
Bear spends
No
the next turn
promises.
kicking him.
You can live with one arm.
With a very pained and worried expression on his face, Inyan reaches out his hand and this like almost like dancing swirly purple like light almost like traces over to Chisota's body and she regains 6 hit points.
Gotta take out the healers.
Is she still unconscious?
You can see like the you can see the horrible rend in her shoulder kind of like piece itself back together with this like purple energy, and she kind of like opens her eyes and takes a deep breath. That is all he can do with his turn, so it is your turn again.
Are you holding her arm?
No, she.
The arm didn't come off.
Okay.
It was a really good deep swing, but she has armor on. It's really hard to just lop somebody's arm off when they have armor on. Dislocate it. Easy to do. Well, easier to do. She is laying on the ground, so your attacks against her would have advantage, or you can attack him. It's up to you.
Yeah.
She is no longer unconscious, so it wouldn't be outside of the rules to attack her at this point.
I'm gonna attack her.
Okay. 15 is
So-
just enough.
What? Roll again to see if you crit.
Yeah, since you do have advantage.
Okay, I did not.
You do
Okay, so the first one goes through. I rolled a 15. It does 16 damage.
That's okay. She's still just unconscious.
That is the maximum amount of damage I can do at once.
I love it. Oh my god, it really is.
She like opens her eyes and is like, oh, and then Becker just like plops her on the head again.
Just thumbs down.
Yeah.
Back to sleep.
Oh my god. Yeah. Basically.
Stay
I love
down.
Anything else you're doing with your turn?
What'd you say, Katie? I was too busy being savage.
You're celebrating. You're fine. No worries. I said, is there anything else you're doing with your turn?
No.
Bella.
All right. I'm going to move out from behind this pillar.
It's bad luck, clearly.
That's got to be it.
That's gotta be it.
It's got to be it. And I'm going to take a shot at the healer bruh.
Mm-hmm.
And I rolled a 19.
A 19 will definitely hit.
It literally was that.
I did 4 damage, I'm fairly certain.
You get sneak attack because he's still next to her.
Nice! I did 14 damage then.
Yeah. Okay. That is a solid hit. He looks wounded. Not like on his last legs or anything, but like that hurt and you can tell. Anything else?
I'm going to try to hide again.
Okay.
I rolled a 13. I'm just going to
Okay.
duck right back in here.
All right. Chisota is still down. She'll make a quick
Right, it's like laser tag. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. You duck out, you shoot, then you duck in.
Inyan gonna lash out with both of his swords.
Come on, Beckers. This seems like an easy fight. I don't know why you felt like you need to rage.
Things weren't going this well for
I
him at
took
first.
15 damage in one turn.
He does land with both of those hits.
That would enrage me.
Yeah, right? He applies a total of 14 damage halved to 7. He makes 2 very precise swings and causes slashing damage to you.
Ow.
Yeah. And now it is your turn again.
Okay.
How are you looking, Beckers? What's the HP?
We're sitting at a solid 13.
I mean, that's not
Mhm.
bad. That's better.
Yeah, if I had not been raging, I would be lower. Okay, so what's the verdict? If I try to shove him from here, would you consider that brazier 5 feet away?
Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to get up here.
Yeah.
Just like circle around him, which is you can like kind of interpose yourself between him and the pillar. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll just get right in there. And then I'm going to shove him.
Are you trying to give him
Okay.
like a fire swirly?
Yeah. I just really want to shove someone in this brazier. This idea came to me ever since she mentioned it in there. And I was like, I'm going to put someone in that.
It's going to hold him.
Okay, so I make an athletics check.
Mm-hmm.
With advantage.
With advantage.
Why with advantage?
I don't know.
Well, she's...
Regardless, my first roll was the better one anyway.
Yeah, because she's raging, she gets advantage on athletics checks. I
Oh,
believe.
that's right. That's right. Yeah,
You're right. On strength checks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to shove him with that. And I'm going to use my inspiration now. I rolled a 5. So
5, 6, 7, 18.
that puts me at 18. Right?
Nice. Okay.
Get in there!
All right. We're going to see what he rolls. Oh, he does not roll an 18. Okay.
You rolled a 20.
So he goes like he gets pushed off of his like off balance, and he goes kind of reeling backwards. I'm gonna make a quick deck save, see how this goes. His foot hits the back of the brazier, and you can see on his face the like panic as he realizes he's falling in. Luckily, this is not oil. This is built up wood, or it would be very, very bad for him. It still hurts. He's going to go ahead and take 5 points of fire damage, and I'll consider a part of him to be on fire. But he makes enough of his save that instead of landing in there and being stuck in it, he kind of keeps his momentum going and rolls over and lands on his feet over here, since you chose to shove instead of knock him prone.
Now Belladonna can shove him in from the other side.
Potentially. Is there anything else you'd like to do with your turn?
I'm going to go like here.
Okay. Yeah, you should have plenty of movement for that.
All right.
All right, Bella.
All right, I'm going right here. Taking a shot.
Okay, a 14 does not hit.
All right.
It hits him, but the armor does block it. It kind of does this like there's this sound of metal hitting metal, and there's like a little bit of a shower of sparks as the arrow kind of like glances off of his armor.
Cool.
Anything else for you?
I'm going to try to hide again.
Okay.
Ooh, 21 of
Ooh.
stealth.
Nice. Okay.
I do a little John Cena move.
You can't see him.
I'll make another death save. Ooh. Okay, that's not great. That's fine.
I like it when you say that.
She rolled really well the first time, and then she rolled a 1, which is 2 failures.
Yeah,
Oof.
I'm not sure what happens if they die without
Yeah, if they
you.
naturally die, that's not our fault, is it?
That's not the way that they made the rules sound. It was more like if they go down and you keep swinging, then it's like we said not to the death here. You get the impression that if it looks like somebody's being left alone and they're just bleeding out, that they'll probably be assisted if somebody notices.
If somebody notices.
Helene's turn.
Nobody's watching this. No one will see.
He is going to reach, he sheathes one of the swords and reaches his hand out at you again to cast
Who's he reaching at?
Color Spray. You. How many hit points do you have?
13. I don't like the way you said that.
Because it impacts people based on how many hit points you have. It doesn't do damage, but because you have fewer hit points than what he rolled, it causes you to be blinded. Now, I wonder if there's an angle we can get. With a 15-foot cone, if he aims it between the
Would he even know she's there because she stealths so high?
Oh, that's right. He doesn't know where you're at. Okay. So he aims it generally this direction, but I don't think he would know exactly where you're at to hit you. That's right. So you are blinded until the end of your next turn. And at that point, he is going to move away from you and come down here to Bella. Now, you do still get an attack of opportunity, but it's at disadvantage.
All right.
I believe in you. You can do this.
Oh, not looking good.
Well,
Yeah, you can't do better than
You can't.
that.
the best would be if you critted.
Oh, yeah.
Aw.
So I rolled an 8 the first time and then a 20 the second time. So obviously the 8 is what I have to do.
Yeah. So you swing out and you can feel like the sword connect, but you can tell that it's like hitting like piece of his equipment or something. Like it didn't actually hit him. You didn't feel like a good solid connection there with that. And now it is your turn again. And you're blinded, so you're not quite sure where he's gone to.
Okay.
But once your turn is over, then you will no longer be blinded. And then it's Bella's turn.
I'm gonna give me a second. I'm thinking.
If you wanted to take your action to make a perception check to try to figure out where he went and try to head that direction, you could.
To try and smell him. Oh, she's raging. Can she smell for him?
You can try, yeah.
All right, let's do a perception check then to try and figure out where he went. I rolled a 12.
A 12?
Well, 12 and a 9.
Well, 12 and a 9, so I get a 12.
Right. Okay. You can't smell where he went. You can smell the, like, battlefield smells, and you can smell, like, blood in the air, but not well enough to tell which direction he went to. You know it's not behind you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a 180 to work with.
Okay, so like, can I just like move forward and swing my sword in a big circle, like
Sure, yeah.
Karen? All right, I'm gonna move forward. It's a big sword. I don't know. I'm gonna try.
You only if you say like for Demacia when you do it.
Yes. Spin to win. When you're blinded, you can still like. It makes sense for you to kind of vaguely head towards
like I'm not deaf. I could hear where he went.
Exactly.
Generally.
But you still have disadvantage on the attack, so that puts you at the 16. So you lose the crit, unfortunately, but a 16 does connect.
I rolled a 16 and then a crit. 24. But unfortunately, that means I get the 16. And I did 7.
7 is still a good hit, though. You feel like a solid connect, even though you couldn't really tell what was going on.
Yeah, got him. Got somebody.
Mhm.
Hope it wasn't Bella.
He did save himself from a crit, though. He's quite pleased with that.
He's like, I had a sense that this could have gone a crit.
Yeah, this could have gone really poorly for me. All right, so then Belladonna. Now, he is within melee, so your bow shots would be at a disadvantage.
Sure, but I'm stealthed, right? No, wait, let's look here.
He moved over here because he knew you were vaguely in this area. He didn't know where you were. If you had been shooting at him and he was still somewhere else, then you would have definitely gotten like the advantage. But since he wandered over to where the last place he saw you was and he rounded the corner and you're there, because remember this is like broad daylight, he basically like, I found her, and now he's next to you. So you could try to move away and take the opportunity attack to try to get a good shot at him, or you could switch to your other weapons.
I'm just gonna switch to my rapier, actually.
Okay.
I'm gonna swing at him with that. Do I get sneak attack since Bear's over here, or no?
Yep.
Yes.
Because she's unblinded at the end of her turn. Ooh,
Yes!
21 will hit.
I rolled a 21.
Nice.
And 6 plus 10 for sneak attack, so 16 damage.
Get
Okay,
wrecked.
Fiora, tell me how you end this altercation.
So Bella holds the rapier kind of straight up and it looks really awkward and she's like, on guard, and then she stabs it in him. This is definitely not her preferred weapon.
I love it. And there's this like horrible, like twisting expression on his face as like the pain washes over him, and he kind of like his legs buckle under him. He doesn't like collapse, but he definitely goes down to like his knees. The blade like slides out as he falls, and he's got like one hand on his stomach and one hand on the ground as he's like bent over, and he yells, "I yield!"
Cool.
And the crowd goes wild. Loud sounds. Everybody's cheering. It's more than just cheering for like a good spectacle, like blood sport and things like that people get really riled up about and worked up over. But there's like there's a sense to it that almost is like you feel like you've made an impression on these people. The cheering is more than just cheering for a victory. It's raucous. People are like grabbing each other and shaking each other, and they're pointing at you, and they're saying things to each other. And as you're standing there, and like the sand is settling, and you're kind of like looking around at everything that's happening, you can tell that there's some sort of like recognition that's going on here.
You inspired a generation.
Perhaps.
Uh-oh. I don't want this.
Cinematically, if you have that moment after like the combat where like the dust and the sand is kind of settling and the dopamine is running, and you can hear like heartbeat throbbing in your head, and the camera would be like spinning around you, and you're kind of looking out, and you can just see like almost like adoration in the eyes of people in the crowd, people that you don't know. This was a spectacle that they will remember and will be talked about.
And you hear a little wood elf in the background just going,
Yeah, absolutely.